Hello, everybody. How are you doing on this fine Tuesday, July 21st? It is 6:11 p.m. Eastern. It's getting close to my bedtime, but I just had to come on here. I actually got an extra coffee because we have some things to go over about the David case. Now, I've already been live for 4 hours today, so please just bear with me as I, use my voice to its greatest capacity. Okay. Today was day one of the David Anthony Burke, the people of the state of California versus David Anthony Burke preliminary hearing. Today was day one. Now, this preliminary hearing is scheduled, or expected, I should say, to last anywhere from 3 to 5 days, although some reports have said that it's actually going to be exactly 4 days. We will see. So, we have a lot to get through when it comes to, yeah, exactly. Oh my God, Sheldon Norcross. I just got out of your live stream. Shout out to Sheldon. Yes, stay hydrated. Good reminder. Good reminder. So I took my little break or whatever, and I quickly, hurriedly gathered as much information as I could about this David Anthony Burke situation. And it has been quite a while since I covered the David Celeste Rivas Hernandez case. I was covering it very extensively for a long time. There were definitely days in a row where I would cover it, kind of similar to how I'm doing now with the Lego stuff, kind of similar to how I did with Nancy Guthrie. The situation with David is that so far, and the reason I haven't been covering it as much, it's not that there haven't been some updates. There have been some updates, but it really has just been push everything off till this hearing, pretty much. It's okay, they would show up for a status check-in or whatever, and it's oh no, we need to push the preliminary hearing down the road more. And this happened maybe 3, maybe 4 times, to where it's all right, girl, wake me up when we get to the preliminary hearing. And hi, here we are, okay? So thank you, Sheldon, for the 550 gems. Today's the first day I've seen these gems. Thank you so much to A Unique Soul for the 30 gems. I think that was a flower. Thank you. So yeah, we're back. We're back to talk about David. So I don't want to do too much lead up, except just to remind y'all, or to tell you maybe first time you didn't know, a preliminary hearing is one of the paths that prosecutors can take to have a criminal case, move forward to trial. One other possible path on the state level that prosecutors can take to move a case forward to trial is also the grand jury indictment. So they can gather a grand jury, the prosecutors. This is a lot more secretive of a process. Just in general, the default is it's a big secret. If you do this grand jury route, except to say that at the end of it, the grand jury will be asked sometimes by the prosecutor, hey, can you tell us, do you think that there's enough evidence you've seen to move this forward to trial? Now, this is basically like a sort of probable cause standard. It's not a very high standard. That's one path. Another path is the one that they are going down, which is the preliminary hearing path. Now, there was a lot of talk, and there still is a lot of talk between, the talking heads, etc., on why the prosecutor, Beth Silverman, she's an assistant district attorney prosecutor, why would she have chosen this path of a preliminary hearing instead of asking a grand jury to indict David? There's a lot of different opinions and speculations back and forth and back and forth. I don't really know why, one way or the other, but this is the path they have chosen. It's a preliminary hearing. And so now it's not before a grand jury, it's before this judge. And it's not a jury. A jury has not convened. It's not a jury at all, grand jury or a regular jury. It's just a judge. And the judge is basically going to say, okay, yes, prosecutors have enough evidence to move forward. That doesn't mean the judge is finding David guilty. It's not even the same standard as a criminal guilty, not guilty. It has nothing to do with deciding if he's guilty. The only thing is that's really being decided by the end of all of this. The judge is going to hear these witness statements. The judge is going to see these pictures, see these other forensic and circumstantial evidence records and all of that, and decide yes or no. Is there enough to move forward with a case against David Anthony Burke? Yes or no, the judge is the one to decide. 6-7. Why? Thank you for the 6-7 gems, Sheldon, and thank you for the marshmallow gems. I wish I could see. Then there's a flow state. Okay, you're gold coining, you're 6-7ing. Someone take Sheldon's device. I think he's glitching. I think he's still glitching from watching that Ammon McNeff allegation from earlier. He was literally speechless. Thank you to Midnight Kitchen Trips for the 10 gifted. This got to be the most gifted memberships channel on the whole internet. Y'all really do gift the memberships, and that I say that in a nice way, in a good way. Oh no, $500 is the marshmallow gem? No, can y'all tell how much they cost? I'm sure, yeah, you can tell how much they cost before you buy them. Okay, so without further ado, we have a lot to get through. A lot happened today. We're going to look through some of the more kind of like mainstream documents from the mainstream traditional news. And we're also going to listen to and read from some more new media who was also there. And I'm going to shout those people out as we get to them. I'm kind of trying to get into the content aspect as quickly as I can here. But this will probably be a few hours long stream. Okay, so get comfortable. We're going to be here. And this is to kind of recap what happened in court today in real time. As y'all know, a lot of times stuff will get changed. Articles will get deleted. They will get amended. You'll forget. You'll lose track. You'll this, that, the other. A lot of times something will be reported in one news source and not in others. Sometimes they'll contradict. And so I like to do these types of streams, these types of live kind of like what happened in court, because it's the closest thing we're going to get. They're not letting cameras go in court. They're not letting cameras go in, and they're only letting 10 members of the public go in. This is business as usual for the Los Angeles justice system. It's the same thing they did with the Britney Spears case. I found it ridiculous. I still find it ridiculous. Absolutely abhorrent. There's no overflow room either. If you don't get one of the 10 seats, too bad, so sad, and it's not on camera. Now, all that said, there apparently is some obviously gruesome evidence that's going to be shown. And so I'm not trying to say that everybody needs to be looking at all the gruesome evidence. That's not what I'm trying to say. But I am trying to say that it would be nice if the people could have some real transparency and some real representation in those rooms, but we don't. And so the best I can do is sit over here across the country and gather up all of the different, or most of the different sources that I've been able to find and talk about it together with y'all. Thank you so much to GJ for the $14.99 Australian. Keep up the good work, brick by brick. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thanks so much to Crazy Sparkles for the $2 super chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so let's start with the New York Times. And we're going to go through articles. We're going to go through shorts and reels and updates from YouTubers. So we'll be here for a while. This is the New York Times. The title of this article, we're going to start with the articles just to kind of get, I think this is what I wanted to do, because these articles we're going to read maybe 2 to 4 of them, and it'll give you a roadmap of what was presented in court today. And the court is still going on, by the way, from what I can tell. It's 6:20 p.m. Eastern, which means it's only 3:20 p.m. California time. And unless they ended court early today, which I don't know why they would on a 3 or 4 day or 5 day thing, court, I think, is still in session unless somebody, knows otherwise. But this is going to give us a layout, a roadmap, a lay of the land. And then we'll kind of have our bearings and we'll be able to navigate through the different pieces of evidence that have come out today. Okay, so it says David murder case, photos and more evidence shared at preliminary hearing. The singer is charged with unalive Celeste Rivas Hernandez, which y'all know. A lot of this, like when they do in the recap over and over and over, y'all already know what he's charged with. I'm probably not going to be rereading all this, what is he charged with thing, but yeah, most of y'all are probably familiar with how I cover these cases, but this is just letting you know. Okay, so this is an update. This has been updated as of less than an hour ago. The singer, this is Matt Stevens, New York Times. The singer David was brought into a Los Angeles courtroom in an orange jumpsuit and black rimmed glasses on Tuesday, that's today, to begin several days of proceedings in the unalive case involving Celeste Rivas Hernandez, the 14-year-old, you know what. The proceedings, known as a preliminary hearing, were delayed several times. They are expected to last 3 to 5 days in Los Angeles Superior Court, and here's what the New York Times thinks you need to know. In April, David was arrested. So that was 3 months ago. Then he was charged with first-degree murder. In the death of Celeste, her body was found in David's trunk last fall in about September. The charge came with what are known as so-called, quote, special circumstances. Prosecutors say that David lay in wait. He committed the act for financial gain, and he unalived a witness to an investigation. Those were the three so-called special circumstances. Because of the special circumstances, the charge carries a maximum sentence of either life without the possibility of parole, or he's facing the unalive penalty. The Los Angeles County District Attorney reiterated today, he did a speech today. We're going to look at that too. We're going to watch his press release that he did outside of the court today, the District Attorney Nathan Hochman. He reiterated today that his office has not decided whether they're going to pursue the death penalty. David was also charged with felony counts of lewd acts with a you-know-what-year-old and mutilation of human remains. He has pleaded not guilty. The purpose of this hearing, as we already discussed earlier, is for the judge to decide if there's enough evidence for the case to move forward and go to trial. At a preliminary hearing, it's not the trial itself. There's no jury. It doesn't determine guilty or not guilty. It's just part of the legal process to make sure that the prosecutors aren't doing something frivolous. Okay, so we already know about this brief, this evidence brief from April. I will just remind y'all of a couple details, but this is where the prosecutors kind of laid out in that 9-page case, that filing rather, that this is the evidence that they already have, and this is how they're planning and going to proceed to move forward. In a brief filed in April, prosecutors laid out what they called a roadmap of the evidence. They say they planned to introduce this evidence at this hearing that now has started today. The court document said that David met Celeste when Celeste was 11. They began a blank relationship when she was 13. And then when she was 14, they got into an argument. And that was the day before David invited her to his home, and she was no longer among the living. In the days and weeks that followed the unaliving incident, the court documents say that David placed Celeste's body into an inflatable pool and chop, you know what, and all of that. So again, just to remind y'all, please, David is innocent until proven guilty, and he should be presumed innocent until proven guilty. I gotta admit, it looks pretty bad. But just to be very clear, this is the prosecutor's side of things. We haven't heard David's side of things. I gotta admit, it looks pretty bad, but I'm just, reminding y'all. He then apparently, allegedly, according to the court documents, stuffed the remains into a garbage bag and put the remains in the front trunk of the Tesla. Okay, so that's the background. So what did we learn in the hearing? This is one of probably, 25 sources we're going to be looking at. So let's just start here with the New York Times. What have they learned in the hearing today? Prosecutors began by walking through the evidence. They have claimed that this evidence is going to include text messages between David and Celeste. They are going to introduce cell phone records, surveillance video, DNA evidence, and more. The prosecutors said that they would call about 10 witnesses. And the lawyers for David are also going to be able to question these witnesses. Now, they got to at least 2 witnesses today, from what I heard before I came on live. It maybe was even more, but it was definitely at least 2. And we'll get to those as this video progresses. Now, remember, we're going to be here a while, because I want to end this live stream with okay, that's everything you really needed to know from day 1. Tomorrow's day 2. Let's move forward, clean slate, day 2. That's kind of the vibe I want to give from this first video here. So however long that takes and however long my energy holds up, we're going to do it. Okay, so this is the section, what have we learned in the hearing? The prosecutors started by walking through their evidence. They said that it's going to be text messages between David and Celeste, cell phone records, surveillance video, DNA, and more. The prosecutors said they're going to call about 10 witnesses. David's lawyers are going to be able to basically cross-examine those witnesses, and he can also call his own witnesses, or I should say his lawyers. David can call witnesses too. But usually, according to the New York Times, that does not happen in the preliminary hearing stage. So in the first few hours of the proceedings today, day 1 of the preliminary hearing, prosecutors called a detective to the stand. This was a Los Angeles police detective who was investigating the case. They also called a sheriff's deputy to the stand. This guy was, okay, so the LAPD detective got called to the stand. He was an investigator on the case. And they also called a sheriff's deputy who, back in 2024, conducted a check on David's residence in 2024 while they were looking for Celeste. Remember, she was missing for a while, and they went and looked for her at David's house. Well, guess what? They played body cam from that interaction today in court. Yes, they did. Okay, yes, they did. All right, so we're going to talk about that too. So during the detective's testimony, and I don't know why they didn't say this up front. So just to be very clear, they're talking about two different witnesses who got called to the stand today. One was a detective. He was actually the one who describes firsthand kind of seeing the remains in the front trunk. He saw them with his own eyes, and he talks about that. So that's the detective. He's investigating the case. But there's another guy, a sheriff's deputy. He's another separate guy who's different witness who was on the stand today. That guy is not investigating this case. He was investigating Celeste as a missing person, missing child, back in 2 years ago, 2024. So these are the two separate witnesses that were so far called to the case. Yeah, I'm not talking about Reckless Ben, and if y'all are like that obsessed, like there's other people talking about it, all you have to do is look at the thumbnail and the title, and you would have been informed that this doesn't have to do with Reckless Ben. Yeah, that's why I did a whole separate live. Anyway, okay. So during the detective's testimony, this is the one who saw the garbage bag with the limbs in the trunk and all. The prosecutor, Beth Silverman, showed gruesome photos of the decomposed body that the authorities found in the trunk of David's car. The photos also showed what prosecutors say is Celeste's right index finger with the tattoo, her left hand with two fingers severed, and her right knee, which was speckled with what appeared to be blue plastic, from what the prosecutors are alleging is that inflatable pool that David bought on Amazon. Now, Celeste's parents were there in court today, and the New York Times is saying that they were on the front row and they looked on as the graphic images were shown. The detective, his name is Joshua Byers. He's the one that saw, the remains in the garbage bag. 333 in the chat. He also went over various records that he obtained during his investigation. And the records appeared to show some of David's activities after the cops say he unalived Celeste. So they were looking through different things. Oh, he went on this freeway, or he went to the Ross Dress for Less, and just different things that, trying to trace his patterns of where he went in the days, the hours, the moments, the days following the death of Celeste. Now, as the prosecutors previously disclosed in court documents, the records appeared to show David taking a trip to Santa Barbara County, parking his Tesla where it was eventually towed, and then making several online purchases using aliases, not in that order. The purchases included the inflatable pool, a fireproof mat, and chainsaws. Oh, a fireproof mat. That's new. Did we know that? Did we already know that? A burn box incinerator. We heard that. Okay. Booking photos. So like his mugshot, taken at the time of his arrest, showed that he had a tattoo that said Celeste on one finger and a tattoo that said shh in a way that appeared to match the girl's tattoo. Y'all, I think these are two new pieces of evidence. I think this fireproof mat is a new piece of evidence, and I think the tattoo on David's finger that said Celeste. Now, is it a new piece of evidence per se? I think somebody might have seen that and found that in the Reddit before. But yeah, people are saying they did not hear that before. No. No. Great. Okay, thank y'all. Thank you, Tina Marie, Christina, Amber, Yodelay. Thank you. So those are two new pieces of evidence. Let's keep track. Let's keep track of anything new. So I think the first brand new evidence that I hadn't heard of was the fireproof mat. The second is the Celeste tattoo on one finger. I also think, as a bonus new finding, we are having the official court record finally confirm, at least according to the New York Times, that David did have that tattoo. Now, TMZ had already reported it. We had seen pictures of it, but it is nice to now know that they have, yes, the New York Times has reported it. It's not AI. He really did have this tattoo, but also, newer, bigger breaking is he had a tattoo that said Celeste. Now, where was the tattoo? Where was the tattoo that said Celeste? Oh, one finger. He had her on his fingers. Oh my God. Okay. What else? Prosecutors also showed 10 minutes of body camera footage from the home visit by that sheriff's deputy. Okay, so this is like that 2024, Celeste is missing. They're looking for her. In this 10 minutes of body camera footage, Mr. Burke said he had met Celeste only once, and she claimed she was 18 years old when they met. When the deputy is leaving David's house, he said, "I hope they find her." And David supposedly said, quote, "I do too." Now, they did find her. She did turn up after this particular incident. Blair Burke, this is David's lawyer, cross-examined both the sheriff's deputy and Detective Byers. She sought at times to raise questions as to why various items discovered by the authorities were not more closely studied for tested remnants of DNA. So she's like talking and asking about the Tesla and other evidence. And she's like, well, why didn't you keep the car for longer? Why didn't you this, that, and the other? As far as looking closer at the evidence they had for DNA. What happens next? Well, at the end of this hearing, the judge, it's Charlene F. Almedo, she will determine if there's enough proof for the case to move forward to the next stage, moving forward to trial. The standard of proof is lower than what would be required at trial for guilty or not guilty. Prosecutors have to show that there is probable cause that a crime was committed. Okay, we're not going to read who are David and Celeste. We kind of already know that, right? Okay. So that was the New York Times. Now, leading up to the trial, it was stated that David did not want to be wearing handcuffs, or not the trial, excuse me, we're not at trial. Leading up to the preliminary hearing, it was stated that David had petitioned not to wear handcuffs or shackles. The judge did allow him to be taken out of the handcuffs, but he had to stay in the feet shackles. Again, there's no jury in here, it's just the judge. So I have some stuff like leading up to the hearing that I did want to go over. I'm not going to go over it right now. Maybe I'll make a different video. Maybe we'll get back around to it. But like there was a status conference about a week ago, 2 days or 3 days ago. Yesterday. It was yesterday. The coroner was pushing for greater transparency, and he kind of talked a little bit about the remains and how he knew pretty much instantly that Celeste was definitely, poked to death, not anything else. But there was all this crap going on in the media about maybe it was an O to the D and maybe it was a this, maybe it was a that. And the coroner was just like, or the medical examiner, the lead coroner guy, he's just like, this is just ridiculous. Like everybody's able to go out and say all this stuff and we couldn't even like combat the fake news. But because we have so many just actual from today updates, I'm going to skip that section for now. Let's go to the LA Times. They put out an article too today. Girl. Aggravating. Okay. Prosecutors reveal gruesome photos of teens dismembered. You know what? Grisly photos of Celeste were made public this morning in court at a preliminary hearing. In the case against David, the prosecutors say he used a chainsaw to you-know-what after he unalived her to cover up years of alleged abuse. Celeste's body was found in September last year, which we knew. Trunk of the car, which we knew. Okay, I'm not paying for this service, so let's move forward. Okay, we did the New York Times. Okay, let's go to People magazine, people.com rather. how David reacted in court when prosecutors showed disturbing photographs of the remains. Her remains were found in September in the trunk. An LAPD detective testified today in the preliminary hearing of David about the gruesome findings inside David's Tesla. Prosecutors showed the photos in court of the remains of Celeste, and David's lawyers, David himself showed no visible emotion, and he stared intently at each photograph. And he used to, or maybe even still has, a gore addiction. He said that before, that he was addicted to gore, which is like, dead bodies and mutilation. So he probably liked it, frankly. I mean, even if he did it or not, he probably liked looking at it. He continued to look at them as they were displayed. He didn't look away, according to People.com. A Los Angeles Police Department detective testified about the gruesome findings inside the Tesla during the court hearing today. David is charged with murder, continuous you-know-what. Detective Joshua Byers with the LAPD Robbery Homicide Unit told the judge today that he was called to a tow yard in Hollywood in September 2025 after the remains of Celeste were found in the front trunk of the Tesla. The Tesla had been impounded from a street in the Hollywood Hills 3 days earlier. He said, quote, I was expected to find a body in a trunk, said the detective. My information was gathered when I arrived on the scene. This is a confusing sentence. I was expected to find a body in a trunk. My information was gathered when I arrived on the scene. Inside the trunk, investigators discovered a black vinyl body bag that was partially unzipped and a garbage bag with blue straps, like a blue handle garbage bag. Multiple gruesome photos of the crime scene were exhibited on screen during the hearing today, showing a garbage bag with limbs inside, a body bag, as well as, oh God, oof, bloody head and torso, oof. David showed no visible emotion and stared intently at each photograph, continuing to look at them as they were displayed. He appeared to stare more intensely at a picture showing Celeste's right hand bearing the phrase shh on her right index finger. So that's what, according to People.com, he was looking more intently at the picture of the tattoo than the cut up head or the cut up torso or whatever. Oof. Prosecutors have alleged that David unalived her a day after they got into a lengthy argument over his relationships with other women, and this was several days before the release of his debut album. He then allegedly chopped her up, disposed of the parts with items he bought online from Amazon and Home Depot, and I think Postmates too, including a shovel, 2 chainsaws, a body bag, and heavy-duty laundry bags. He also purchased, allegedly, a blue inflatable pool to prevent the blood from spilling onto the garage floor. And he used the chainsaw and other tools to chop. Ugh. This is again, preliminary hearing brief. Okay. Prosecutors allege that they met in 2022 when Celeste was 11 years old and began the sexual relationship in November 2023. She was 13 and he was 18. So, like, to me, even though he was under 18 for a large portion of this, like a year, what would be like 2 years, he was like maybe 16 or 17 when he met her, and then 17 or 18, she's 13. He's still 5 years older. Like, I remember, being 13 and my friends, I didn't have any big brothers or whatever. Like, my friends would have a brother that was like a year or 2 grade ahead of us. And they just were like so much older and more mature. Like, you grow fast in 1 year as a kid. And so even if he was like 17 and she was 12, ew, that's a big age gap still. Ew. Okay. Burke is facing a sentence of life in prison or possibly the death penalty. Okay, so he's just in court just being a psycho because he's like deadened his brain. All right, so I guess now's the time to put the headphones on. Ugh. But it must be done. Okay. So let's go here. Okay, so the evidence gathered so far, we know that there was pictures. Let's do a little recap so far of what we found out so far from New York Times, people.com, a little bit from LA Times, etc. We know there were pictures shown, the pictures of her body, or remains rather, from inside the Tesla. We know there was body camera shown in court today, 10 minutes or so from 2024. We're going to talk more about all of these things, but these are the basic outlines here. And what else? Where's that Rolling Stone? Okay, let's go to this one. Celeste Rivas Hernandez was unrecognizable, says cop who saw remains at David hearing. Prosecutors began to lay out the evidence against David today, who is accused of unalive a 14-year-old girl. David, the platinum-selling musician born David Anthony Burke, showed no emotion Tuesday as he stared at the gruesome photos of severely decomposed remains 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez found in the front trunk of his Tesla last year. The photos, shared on a large screen in the courtroom during the preliminary hearing in the murder case, showed Celeste's limbless torso in one black plastic bag and her dismembered arms and legs in another. A photo of her knee showed flecks of blue plastic that allegedly were from the inflatable pool that prosecutors claim David used while dismembering the remains. They showed a close-up photograph of her left hand. It showed that her ring and pinky fingers had been cut off. Another photo showed a tattoo of the word shh on her right index finger. Celeste's mother, Mercedes Martinez, silently bowed her head and averted her eyes as she sat in the front row of the gallery. Celeste Rivas Hernandez's father, Jesus Rivas, was also there. He looked at the screen with a mournful expression and repeatedly checked on his wife. David Anthony Burke, 21 years old, is accused of unaliving Celeste in April of last year to cover up his abuse of her. Over the years, he has pleaded not guilty. Now, Tuesday's hearing, this is Rolling Stone's coverage of it, in case you're wondering. Tuesday's hearing was the first in a multiple-day hearing during which prosecutors are going to lay out the evidence they have accumulated against David, and a judge is going to decide whether there is enough probable cause to send this case to trial. David's attorneys also will get the chance to defend their client, question witnesses, and potentially poke some holes in the state's case. That's the best they can hope to do. If you're asking me, I think this thing's going to trial. I mean, we have a dismembered corpse here in somebody's car. I think somebody's got to go to trial for it. Prosecutors have said that David dismembered Celeste after whenever the deputy district attorney, whenever the prosecutor asked LA Police Department Detective Joshua Byers if investigators were able to make out facial features on Celeste's face, the detective said they could not make out any facial features. There was quite a bit of decomposition. The skin slippage made it unrecognizable. Now, the prosecutors are claiming that David first met Celeste January 2022 when she was 11 years old. He was arrested, as you all know, April 16th, 2026, this year. He pleaded not guilty. There are special circumstances. Earlier in the hearing today, the prosecutor played 10 minutes of body camera footage showing Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputies asking David Burke some questions during a visit at a West Hollywood residence a few days after Valentine's Day, 2024. This also happened to be a few days after Celeste's parents first reported her missing from their home in Lake Elsinore. Now, the drive from Lake Elsinore, where Celeste lives, to where David was living in West Hollywood is like over an hour drive. So it was like a long drive. She was reported missing in 2024, February 2024. And then somehow, some way, the cops end up going over there to the house and checking for Celeste at David's house, where it does appear that she probably had been. However, in this body camera footage, Riverside, let's see. Well, okay, scratch that. Riverside County, that's where Celeste was living at the time in 2024. The sheriff over there, the investigators, had found David's number in Celeste's phone records, and they informed David how old Celeste was. This is back in 2024, and they warned David that he would get a visit. And in the body camera footage, David said, quote, "Just so you know, there's alcohol in the fridge." So David's like confessing in 2024 to the cops that he has alcohol in the fridge while they're over there checking for a missing minor. The LA County Sheriff's deputies, he welcomed them into his house. He told them that he did meet Celeste on Discord and Instagram. He claimed he only saw her one time in person, and that was in November the year before, so like 3 months prior. And he said the last time he communicated with her was the day before Valentine's Day. That was February 13th, 2024. And he claimed she was not in his house at the time. Quote, "She told me she was 18, David told investigators in the video. Quote, "Everyone's saying she's 13. David showed the deputies the missing persons flyer that Celeste's family had posted online. So they're there looking for a missing child. He is claiming that he only met her one time, but he got the missing person flyer. And he's like, everyone's saying she's 13, but she told me she was 18. Okay. He showed the cops the missing persons flyer. That's very interesting to me. This may be a new little, third piece of new evidence. David is the one who showed them the missing person flyer. He had it on his phone. He held it up for one of the deputies to take a photo of. He also showed the deputies Celeste's 6th grade yearbook photo from middle school in Lake Elsinore. In the photo, she's wearing a Batman shirt. In a chilling evidence brief filed in April, which we've already read, prosecutors claimed that after the murder, David bought 2 chainsaws, an inflatable pool off Amazon. He chopped in the garage of his home. They claim he later stowed her remains in the front trunk and went on his tour. Quote, for several weeks, possibly months. Defendants, that's David, left the victim's body to decompose inside his Tesla. It's just defendant, I think. He lied to friends, business associates, and others who noticed the strong smell of decay in and around his home and vehicle. They smelled it and he lied. The filing further claimed that David pursued, manipulated, and abused Celeste for years. When her family first reported her as a possible runaway, authorities found David's number in her phone records and told him how old she was. After Celeste returned to her family's home in California, Lake Elsinore, about 70 miles southeast of Los Angeles, her parents took her phone. They confiscated that phone. David allegedly paid a classmate $1,000 to deliver a secret phone so he could still stay in touch with Celeste. Recovered text messages. So recovered means he tried to delete them. Recovered text messages between David and Celeste allegedly refer to S relations, pregnancy, and deleting a fetus. All we do is have relations and just hang out. Man, I want more than that for myself, said Celeste, allegedly in one message that was recovered from David's iCloud. Prosecutors say Celeste expressed jealousy over David's relationships with other women, and they argued about it on April 22nd, 2025. The next day, she was dead. The following night, David allegedly paid an Uber to bring Celeste to his home in Los Angeles. Prosecutors claim he unalived Celeste basically right as she arrived because she had indicated she planned to expose him. Quote, knowing he had to silence the victim before she ruined his music career, as she had threatened to do, very soon after her arrival to his home, defendant stabbed the victim to death multiple times and stood by while she bled out. If convicted, he could face up to the death penalty. At an April 22nd hearing, David's attorney, Blair Burke, said, we believe the actual evidence will show David did not unalive Celeste, nor was he the cause of her death. She initially asked for an immediate preliminary hearing. That was David's lawyer originally, in a matter of days, so she would be able to have the evidence come forth. come into the light of day at the earliest opportunity. Before the hearing started today, the judge partially granted David's request to have his shackles removed in court. At his 5 prior court appearances, he was in restraints the whole time, with the bailiff handcuffing him to his chair. His defense argued that he has no prior criminal record and has been fully compliant while in custody since April. The judge ruled Tuesday that David could be uncuffed, but his waist shackle had to be attached to his chair. It's just to ensure that he stays in his seat. He will not be able to get up from his chair or have any free access to roam around the courtroom, the judge ruled. Other than that, his hands are free and he will have full use of his hands. Okay, so that was the Rolling Stone article, and that was just more, I think, context about how Celeste's remains were found. Specifically unrecognizable. Okay, so now let's go to CBS News. CBS News also put out an article. This one was from about 3 hours ago. David hearing begins as prosecutors call witnesses, show graphic photo evidence in unaliving of Celeste. During the start of a multiple-day hearing in the case against David, prosecutors called their first witness and presented graphic photo evidence. David is charged with you-know-what. He pleaded not guilty. He appeared inside the courtroom wearing an orange jumpsuit. Also in attendance were Celeste's family and parents. The DA's office called its first witness, Senior Deputy Juan Gonzalez from the LA County Sheriff's Department. So Juan Gonzalez is the one who responded to a welfare check, the one who came looking for missing Celeste back in 2024, right around Valentine's Day. He said he got a call from the Riverside County Sheriff's Office to see if Celeste was at David's house. The detective said he asked David when the last time he saw Celeste was and how they met. The detective said that David responded by saying the last time he saw her was in 2023. They met through an online chat on Discord in 2021. And the detective said that David claimed to barely know Celeste, and she allegedly told him that she was 18. The DA's office also showed that 10-minute video from the body cam where David... Oh, okay. So look, this is why I like to do this. Because I know y'all just saw clear as day in this Rolling Stone article that David is supposedly the one who showed the missing persons flyer to the cops. She was 18. Look, everyone's saying she's 13. Burke showed the deputies the missing persons flyer that Rivas family has posted online. But look, that's Rolling Stone. Then when you go to CBS, they're saying it actually was the cop who showed David the missing persons flyer. So it is just a small detail, but it could end up making a big difference. And this is why we need cameras in courtrooms. Especially, this is not a gruesome piece of evidence. This isn't some decapitated, mutilated, whatever, and ever. It's just, did the detective show David the missing person flyer, or did David have the missing person flyer on his phone? Because that makes a difference to me. The defense so David's lawyer briefly cross-examined this detective, mostly recounting the events of the video and highlighting that David was being cooperative with the officers. Prosecutors asked the detective if David told them, okay, so prosecutors like, all right, Detective Gonzalez, did David tell you that him and Celeste had hooked up sexually? But the detective did not get a chance to answer the question before David's lawyer, Blair Burke, objection, Your Honor. And the judge actually sustained the objection. So the question was, from the prosecutor to the detective. Hi, Detective Gonzalez. When you went to David Burke's house in 2024, did David tell you that he and Celeste were sexually having relations? Objection. So we don't know. We didn't find out the answer to the question. Now, he didn't answer the question. He was dismissed. Next witness came up. Joshua Byers. This is the detective that saw the body in the body bag at the impound lot and all that. He responded to the Hollywood tow yard in September 2025, and this is where Celeste's remains were later discovered. He said he was initially called there on scene for a death investigation. So they called him and said, we got a death. somebody come over here. And that makes sense. I mean, this Byers guy is in the homicide robbery division. He was initially called to the scene for a death investigation about a body found in a car. He said when he arrived at the scene, he opened the front trunk, where he found a partially opened body bag with the torso and head inside. He went on to describe in graphic detail how he found the remains in several bags. He said after removing the bag, he found yet another black plastic trash bag, and he just disposed of her like trash in a trash bag. And that's where the body's severed limbs were being kept. During this time, Celeste's family could be heard crying in the courtroom as the detective described what he saw. Prosecutors also presented gruesome photos from the scene. The detective said there was quite a bit of decomposition. He could not make out any of the facial features at the time. If the judge finds probable cause, the next step is setting a trial date. The preliminary hearing is expected to last several days, and prosecutors continue to call witnesses, present evidence, and the defense can cross-examine the witnesses. Okay, so we got that one. Testimony from the two separate people. I think we have more quotes in this local news article from mynewsla.com. Prosecution reveals graphic photos, evidence, in hearing against David. Photos were shown in court. The hearing charged capital murder. Victim's parents attended, and so did the district attorney. Los Angeles Police Detective Joshua Byers testified. He said the vehicle had been ticketed on September 3rd. It was impounded 2 days later, the 5th. Tow yard employees reported a strong odor coming from the vehicle. The front trunk contained a partially unzipped bag. Quote, ugh, yuck. This is from the detective. Quote, you could see various limbs of a body, arms and legs that had been severed. He said 2 fingers on the victim's left hand had been removed, and those were never found. The detective testified that investigators determined the vehicle was registered to David at a Texas address and obtained a search warrant before opening the front trunk. Prosecutors displayed graphic photographs from the trunk, including a picture of the knee showing, quote, blue plastic fragments embedded in the victim's right knee. Another photograph showed the tattoo on her right hand or her right index finger and the victim's left hand with the ring finger and the pinky severed. Now, asked whether he could make out any facial features, the detective said there was quite a bit of decomposition, unrecognizable. Now remember, quote, surveillance video and other evidence confirm David was the last person to drive the vehicle July 29, 2025, before he left on tour. Earlier Tuesday, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Deputy Juan Gonzalez testified that he and another deputy went to David's home in February 2024. They did so because the Riverside County Sheriff's Department was looking for a missing child, Celeste. The detective said Burke had been notified in advance that deputies would be coming. Okay, this is another new piece of evidence. So I want to mark this as one of the new pieces of evidence we found out today. David already knew the cops were coming. David already had been notified that deputies would be coming. How? I'm curious. Now, David claimed, according to this Deputy Gonzalez, that the last time he saw Celeste was November 12th, 2023, and he last communicated with her February 13th, so 5 days prior. David also said he had met her through online chats. When asked about his impression, okay, this is new evidence. This is something new that I haven't seen from the other sources so far. This detective who went to ask David about the situation in 2024, he was asked today, what was your impression of David's relationship with the missing girl? The detective Gonzalez said, quote, I took it as he really didn't know her. or didn't really know her. I quote, I took it as he didn't really know her. So David convinced the cop he did not know Celeste. The murder charge includes special circumstances. Now, the district attorney, Nathan Hochman, said that the whole special circumstance of lying in wait stems from David's invitation to Celeste to come to his home April 23rd, 2025, while the financial gain allegation stems from David's effort to maintain his lucrative music career, which was being threatened by his alleged sexual relationship with this underage girl. Celeste was considered a key witness in that investigation, leading to the allegation of murmuring a witness. That was according to the district attorney. David is also charged with 1 count each of continuous abuse of a child. He's pleaded not guilty. Before testimony began, David's lawyers successfully asked the judge to allow David to remove his handcuffs, but not the waist shackle. The judge ordered the handcuffs removed, but he was restrained by a waist chain. Outside court Tuesday, the district attorney, Nathan Hochman, said prosecutors expect to call more than 10 witnesses during this hearing, and they are confident they are going to establish probable cause to hold David for trial. The district attorney reiterated that no decision has been made on whether prosecutors are going to seek the death penalty, and this is a quote from the district attorney, quote, "We believe we will more than accomplish the evidentiary burden of probable cause at this point to hold David to answer on these 3 felony charges." The prosecution's filing alleges that David purchased tools to carry out this disgusting plot to dismember and dispose. He ordered a shovel, 2 chainsaws, body bag, heavy-duty laundry bag, blue inflatable pool, fake name. Quote, moreover, David took horrifying measures to destroy and discard the you-know-what after placing into blue inflatable pool. To prevent the blood from spilling, he used a chainsaw and other tools to chop. Blue plastic fragments were embedded in her remains. The filing alleges that David amputated the left ring and pinky fingers because her ring finger had a tattoo of his name. Now, put that together with some of the other new evidence that we just found out earlier. David had a tattoo of Celeste's name on his finger, and David had a tattoo. Now we know Celeste had a tattoo of David's name on her finger, and Celeste had a tattoo. So they had matching tattoos, and they had a tattoo of each other's name on their fingers, according to these court documents. LAPD detectives served a search warrant last September 16th at David's home. And remember, the FBI was on the scene. The filing alleges several biological samples which tested positive for blood were collected in the garage area. DNA analysis determined that various samples matched Celeste's. According to prosecution's brief, David and the girl met January 2022. She was 11. They began an sexual relationship in November 23. Explicit. Okay, so there's also this, quote, there are also explicit photographs documenting and corroborating their sexual relationship, according to the prosecution's filings. They claim that the two had broken up in November, but continued to communicate, and text messages suggest they also continued to have relations. She became very upset because she was jealous. He felt like he had to silence her, or she was going to tell on him. His attorneys, have denied everything. Okay. Let's move on. I have a lot of different sources. So we do have the DA making his speech. Let's see what the DA had to say today outside of court on day 1 of the preliminary hearing. Looks like it's only about a 3-minute long statement. Okay.
Our system in California in particular, you have an intermediate system.
Okay, this is just like, it just like abruptly starts here. We'll see if we can find the full.
Our system in California in particular, you have an intermediate step. That intermediate step is a preliminary hearing where effectively the prosecution's evidence is going to be tested before a judge, not a jury. The standard that we have to meet is not beyond a reasonable doubt at the preliminary hearing stage.
Probable cause.
It is probable cause.
Got it.
we are not obligated nor will we be presenting all the evidence at a preliminary hearing that we will.
Translation, they have more evidence they're not even going to show. Womp womp.
Presenting at a trial to prove David beyond a reasonable doubt guilty of the
amendment. They have more evidence they're not even going to show at this stage. They have to turn all the evidence over to David, I think, at this stage, because of Brady or whatever. Maybe not. I'm not exactly, really, don't quote me on that. I don't know for sure. But as of this stage, they're not showing all the evidence they have against David in court.
Felony charges of which he has been charged. So at the preliminary hearing, we will call a number of officers. We estimate there'll be over 10 different witnesses.
Over 10.
Officer testimony, coroner testimony, and there'll be individual witnesses as well. And again, we can rely on hearsay and other things that won't be allowed to be relied on in an
I got the captions on, girl, but they're not showing. Okay, there we go. There we go.
trial. The judge at the end of the presentation of the evidence, and again, this is evidence that can be cross-examined by defense attorney.
David's lawyers.
That process has already been done. At the end of the presentation of all this evidence, the question will be, will David be held to answer on the 3 felony charges? We believe we will more than accomplish the evidentiary burden of probable cause at this point to hold David to answer on these 3 felony charges.
Okay.
At that point, if the judge does hold him to answer, we will file an information that will detail the actual 3 criminal charges. Thereafter, there will be a trial date.
Okay, what? Hold on. I want to go back like 20 seconds.
Detail the actual 3 criminal charges.
Okay, wait.
Thereafter, answer, we will file an information to hold David to answer on these 3 felony charges. At that point, if the judge does hold him to answer, we will file an information.
We will file an information. I don't know what in the hell he's talking about.
Detail the actual 3 criminal charges. Thereafter, there will be a trial date that will be set, and David, if he so chooses, will proceed to trial. And we will prove at that point, beyond a reasonable doubt.
David, if he so chooses? What if he chooses not to proceed to trial? What does that mean? Y'all trying to say what? If David chooses to go to trial, we'll do that. I think that's another way of saying he can do a guilty plea, I guess, if he wants to. He can do a plea deal if he wants to plead guilty, but if he don't do that, we're going to trial, I guess. He's like, if David chooses, we can go to trial. Well, David really don't have a choice like that.
And David, if he so chooses, will proceed to trial.
What?
We will prove at that point, beyond a reasonable doubt, that David committed these 3 crimes. And when, we do not predict if, when he is convicted, we will then be seeking the sentence that we are allowed to seek by
He said when he is convicted, not if. Oh.
law, and we will let you know in a future date whether or not that sentence will also include the death penalty. So I wanted to take this opportunity as we're starting this preliminary hearing process to explain where the preliminary hearing fits in the process so people can understand as we are presenting evidence and it is being cross-examined what ultimately the standard is for the judge to determine, and that's probable cause, not beyond a reasonable doubt. It is a judge that is doing this determination,
not a jury
at this point, and then there will subsequently be a trial when the judge holds David to answer on these 3 felony charges.
This is the district attorney, by the way.
When this preliminary hearing is over, I will come back to address you, and at that point, I will take questions. Thank you very much.
So when the hearing is over, I guess not like today, but when the hearing is over. So like on the last day when it's over. Okay, shout out to him or whatever. Sometimes he does stuff that gets on my nerves, but I guess I agree with, that was a easy enough statement. Okay, so to recap, some of the evidence, pictures of the body, the remains, etc. in the front trunk. How David reacted. He apparently didn't react at all. He was like, he liked it, it looked like. There was body cam shown. He said there was alcohol in the fridge. And then some Tesla evidence was exposed, which in the preliminary hearing was discussed. But shout out to Kadisha Lynn. Let me give this video a like. this is a video that came out today. She's been on top of things. So this is going to be the first of many, many, many content creators, fellow YouTubers I'm going to shout out in today's video because they have been putting in the work today. And I want to share with y'all where I got this information from. So Kadisha put this video out 2 hours ago. It's called David Bombshell Evidence Shown, Tesla Data, Videos, and Receipts. So this is 3 minutes, 28 seconds long. Take it away, Kadisha Lynn.
We just heard how much Tesla data that they got on David, trying to connect him to being the last person that drove the Tesla with Celeste Rivas Hernandez in it, and it's a lot. Started out by showing the video footage of David being the last person to drive the Tesla on July 29th of 2025, right before he left on his tour.
Please tell me that isn't the footage, girl, because that's a ghost driving that car. That's not enough evidence for me. I'm sorry. We've been over this many times. Where is the girl? That thing might be a Waymo. That thing might be driving itself truly. I'm not even joking. You can't see nothing. Shout out to Kadisha Lynn for putting that in there.
Investigators testified that David's iPhone was disconnected also from the Tesla on July 29th, which was the last day it was parked. And this phone David called Tranquilizer, and this phone was never recovered, so it is missing, and it's
Excuse me, wait. He had a phone called Tranquilizer?
And this phone David called Tranquilizer, and this phone was never recovered, so
I don't know if she's saying in this phone someone called Tranquilizer, or he called the phone, like the iCloud account was called Tranquilizer. The phone was never recovered.
Missing, and it's still
so it's missing
right now. There is also video footage that was turned into multiple pictures of David in the neighborhood on July 29th of 2025, right after parking that car, going back into his home. When they served that search warrant, they were also able to get...
Okay, so that's good to know. All right, so they didn't... Obviously, they didn't release this to the public, but apparently in court today or whatever, they did say it wasn't just that blurry, video of the Tesla driving. There was also other footage, probably from local surveillance cameras of like home surveillance or whatever, security cameras or whatever, but showing David kind of walking and going back into his home on that same day that the Tesla was moved. That's what that's what Kadisha Lynn is saying was shown in court today. Obviously, I don't know what was shown in court today because I wasn't there.
A seat that was in the car for July 29th also, and he was shopping at Ross, so they went to Ross and pulled the video footage of him there buying clothes.
Whoa. Okay. Whoa. Hold on. 2 new pieces of evidence. Number 1, there was a receipt. There was a receipt in the Tesla. Sorry, I got ice in my mouth. There was a receipt in the Tesla, and on the receipt, it was for Ross Dress for Less. Hopefully he wasn't buying poolsides to wear in the courthouse. Anyway, he was going to the Ross Dress for Less, and so then they're like, okay, well, what if David is like, no, that wasn't me at the Ross Dress for Less, that was my assistant. So they went to the Ross Dress for Less, and they got the surveillance footage from the Ross Dress for Less, and lo and behold, it is David in that Ross Dress for Less buying clothes. Oh, girl, please tell me it wasn't clothes for his tour.
Like he drove this car to Ross with Celeste still in the front of the Tesla. Other data this Tesla stored was addresses.
And she had supposedly been killed in April. Like it had to be reeking.
And iPhone and iCloud data that was connected to the Tesla. They also were able to match places that David was going, such as Santa Barbara, from navigation of charging stations that he charged the Tesla at.
So they were able to see where he charged his Tesla to map out that he had driven to Santa Barbara County. Okay, so we are actually, wow. Shout out to Kadisha Lynn. She's really put this evidence together.
They start talking about the search warrants on his home and things that they took. And one thing that they referenced taking was a computer. And they said the email was connected to his iCloud. And this is where they found receipts for flights that David bought for him and Celeste, like we just talked about, to go to London and Texas. And yes, These were United Airlines flights. One thing that they were able to figure out is he actually used another alias, allegedly, of Trayvon Davis to purchase some of these airline tickets. He used this alias on Amazon and for AT&T.
Okay, we get a new alias for David, Trayvon Davis.
Talk about the red Tesla that was in David's garage when his home was raided.
So there's a whole nother Tesla that gets very little airtime, and this is the red Tesla. Now, we did see this in David's garage in some of the pictures from around his home that he was renting, and there's a red Tesla there. Now, people had speculated maybe that was Josh Marshall, maybe that was his manager's red Tesla, maybe David bought that red Tesla because he couldn't drive around the black one anymore because it was stinking, or what. So Kadishalin's about to tell us some more information about this red Tesla.
Just some of these airline tickets, he used this alias on Amazon and for AT&T. They also talk about the red Tesla that was in David's garage when his home was raided by police and searched.
Right.
And that red Tesla was actually in David's manager's name, Robert Morgenroth.
See,
They also talk about when they raided the home, they found the birdcage in an Amazon box, and it was under the fake name Victoria Mendez, which they had already connected to him as buying a lot of the other things. The prosecutors are alleging not only did he have one fake alias, he now had two. More thing I wanted to share with you guys.
Now, I want to be very clear. That's the prosecutor's version of events. But David could easily say he really had an assistant named Victoria Mendez, and she really did order him stuff. And all of that was just for a music video. Now, it ain't looking good for David. But I'm just saying, you know, to keep what we know for a fact separate from what just kind of looks really bad right now. Now, this is a picture of Celeste from her 6th grade middle school yearbook. And supposedly, allegedly, this is the exact picture that David had on his phone of Celeste that he showed to the cops. And the cops even mentioned to him in the house in 2024, like, she looks 13. We'll get to some of that evidence in a little bit, but like, imagine you're like, oh yeah, she told me she was 18, and then you show the cops her 6th grade yearbook photo, and she does look, I mean, maybe 13. She could be 11 or 12.
To him as buying a lot of the other things. The prosecutors are alleging not only did he have one fake alias, he now had two. More thing I wanted to share with you guys, in my last video, we talked about the first half of the preliminary hearing and how investigators allege that David showed them a yearbook photo of Celeste and they described it as her in a Batman hoodie. Well, I was actually able to find this yearbook photo of Celeste, and yes, this is the yearbook photo that David showed investigators when they went questioning him about missing Celeste Rivas Hernandez the very first time she went missing. The only other thing that we heard, there could be anywhere from 10 to 12 witnesses that they decide to put on the stand during this preliminary hearing, and the DA did do a brief press conference just outlining how the preliminary hearing is going to work, and he did say that it can run from 3 to 5 days. So right now, court's still in session, so I will let y'all know the rest of the details.
It's only 4:19 still over there, so they still have another 41 minutes before court even lets out. It's still going on. We're just, I wanted to come on here before it let out just so we could at least cover what had happened so far this morning.
Out on the next break. Y'all let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments.
So in the preliminary. So I don't know if Kadisha Lynn is actually on the ground, boots on the ground, or if she is just in direct contact with people who are. But shout out to her. It does appear like she has gotten access to a bunch of little detailed type of stuff that we didn't hear from anyone else. Should we go and watch her first video too? Let's see. She said she did a video from the first part of the preliminary hearing. Okay, yeah, it's short. Let's take a watch.
I have my first
Okay, so David preliminary hearing. This is the name of the video. Let me copy the link. Here, let me actually start I'm going to start a day 1 preliminary hearing links for y'all, and then I'll update the description box. Kadisha Lynn prelim hearing first half. Okay, I'm going to put that there. And then after this, I'll just like copy paste this. It will be sloppy, but at least it will be down there. Hold on. Okay. So this is, let me do this copy. Let me put this in your here. Don't. Okay. Okay, this is, let me like this video too. David K's first witnesses take the stand giving disturbing testimony.
I have my first update on the preliminary hearing against David for Celeste Rivas Hernandez, and the first witnesses have taken the stand. First witness was an LAPD sheriff that went to David's home the very first time that Celeste went missing in February of 2024. This deputy testified that David told him this day that he met Celeste in 2020 or 2021 on Facebook and Discord messaging.
Whoa, that's another little new piece. We're hearing for the first time that David said he maybe even met her in 2020.
He went on to say that David told him he only met Celeste in person once and that he thought that she was 18 because she told him she was 18. And there was also body cam video footage that was shown in court of these deputies approaching David's home to ask him about a missing Celeste Rivas Hernandez.
Okay.
This whole body cam video footage is 10 minutes and 30 seconds long, and it appears that David knew that LA was coming to question him because he was in contact with Riverside about Celeste being a missing person. This deputy then went on to testify that David told him the last time that he had saw Celeste during this encounter was November 12th of 2023. Last time that he had talked to her was February 13th of 2024.
Okay.
Then David proceeded to show the deputies the yearbook photo of Celeste, but also her missing person poster.
Right, and we have conflicting reports on that. There has been reporting from Rolling Stone that David was the one that showed that picture. David showed deputies, but then on CBS, we are told that the detective is the one who Burke claimed to barely know her. The department said he responded to welfare check. Gonzalez said it. Burke said could be seen. Gonzalez, the detective, could be seen showing David a missing persons flyer. So we do have conflicting reporting, which is one of the reasons why I do these lives.
Book photo, Celeste appears to be very young, like maybe around 11 years old, and she's wearing
Right.
a Batman hoodie.
She looks very
Deputies
young.
then had David's consent to search his home, and they list that they found Hello Kitty items that could also be
More new evidence. More new evidence. This is brand new evidence coming from Kadisha Lynn. Shout out to her. Nobody's working harder than her. My God. Actually, she's the first person I'm shouting out, so I'm not going to, steal her thunder, but Rabbit has been working all day too. Shout out to Down the Rabbit Hole News. Okay, so Kadisha Lynn just said that the detectives claimed they found Hello Kitty items.
to search his home, and they list that they found Hello Kitty items that could also be seen in the body cam video footage. When the deputies asked David about those Hello Kitty items, he said this was because this was a artist's house, so these were other people that were coming to stream in the house. David went on to tell deputies that
So they asked him about the Hello Kitty items. They said, what's the Hello Kitty stuff? And he said, well, this is an artist house, so there's like artists that come over here and stream. And remember when I told y'all this was something that he could possibly say? I've always had this feeling that he may fall back on this, like he was trying to launch new artists. He was trying to recruit new artists, and that's why he was around all these people all the time. He was basically, trying to start, maybe launch his own record label. Now, of course, obviously, I don't think that's really what was going on. But it's kind of like how Diddy got away with making videos about crazy stuff whenever he could just say it was for a music video that never got published or whatever. You know what I mean?
said that she was 18, but everyone keeps saying she's only 13. For this witness during cross-examination, David's lawyers were basically saying that David admitted that Celeste said that she was 18 years old, so basically trying to argue that David didn't know her real age. And then for redirect, prosecutors asked this witness if David ever admitted to having a physical...
So we knew David was going to say this. David been saying it for 2 years. She said she was 18, bruh. I don't know, bruh. There's alcohol in the fridge, though, bruh. She said she was 18. And I think that's why the prosecutors have made it so obvious that in 2024, whether David was informed beforehand or not, by the time February 17th, 2024 rolled around, he had been informed of her age. So anything that happened after that, what's going to be your excuse now? Because here's the body cam of you being informed that she's 13.
relationship with Celeste or even helping her run away from
back
home.
a little bit.
Didn't know her real age. And then for redirect, prosecutors asked this witness if David ever admitted to having a physical relationship with Celeste or even helping her run away from home. And the reason for this being because they had claimed on David's defense that he was cooperative, and it doesn't seem like he was. The second witness that testifies is the LA Robbery Homicide Division deputy that was sent to the tow yard the day that it was reported that there was a foul smell coming from the front of David's Tesla.
Okay.
This officer was present when they found Celeste in this body bag in the front of the Tesla and basically testified about how he found her. And they also showed everybody in the courtroom the photos of Celeste Rivas Hernandez.
That is, woo, I don't ever want to see those. If they make those available to the public, I will not be looking at them. And I would strongly caution y'all to really consider whether you would want to see something like that, because once you see it, you cannot unsee it.
So I cannot go into full detail, but he then testified about
maggots.
How
they talked about maggots
appeared because she wasn't intact. Testified in her limbs were the blue fragments that prosecutors said they were able to match back to the pool that was found in David's home that he also allegedly ordered offline. It is being reported that during all of these photos being shown that David didn't even appear to look away. He appeared to be staring right at all of the evidence, just like pretty much everybody else, even though a lot of people were having a hard time because it was very graphic. This deputy went on to testify that Celeste's left ring and left pinky finger were amputated and that they had never been recovered, so they do not know where these two fingers are.
They don't know where the phone that's called Tranquilizer is. They don't know where Tranquilizer, the phone, is, and they don't know where the finger and the pinky and the ring finger on the left hand are.
Something that we talked about because she did have the...
I'm still like open to the idea David literally ate them, consumed them.
Named David on one of those fingers. And the deputy did say he was not able to figure out who she was because how bad her face was decomposed. That's all the information we got right now from the first break. So after they take a lunch break, I'm sure we'll figure out more information. But they are starting this off like a timeline, like they said they were going to. But
shout out to Kadisha Lynn. I have linked her video in the live chat. I'm also gonna post the links that I go over from other creators, or at least, you know, one link from each so that y'all can find your way to where it is. Now I see up here there is a longer clip of the DA, the 4-minute. In the beginning of the one that we just watched, it was kind of like cut off. So let's see if we can get the beginning part on this one.
Good afternoon. My name is Nathan Hockman.
Nice.
I'm the Los Angeles County District Attorney.
Okay.
Today starts the day of the preliminary hearing of David Anthony Burke.
Okay.
The singer David, spelled D4VD.
Got it.
This
Thanks.
preliminary hearing will last approximately 3 to 5 days,
Okay.
at which point we will be seeking to hold David to answer for 3 felony counts of which he has been charged. First-degree murder with special circumstances, the count of lewd and lascivious acts with a 13-year-old, and the count of mutilation of human remains.
Got it.
David will be facing a maximum punishment of life without the possibility of parole, or he is also death penalty eligible.
Mm-hmm.
The decision on whether or not to seek the death penalty has not been made at this point.
Okay.
Now, the point of a preliminary hearing is somewhat different than you actually perceive in the media, whether it's TV or the movies. Because what often happens in TV or the movies is you go from an immediate arrest into a trial. But in our system and in California in particular, you have an intermediate step. That intermediate step is a preliminary hearing where effectively the prosecution's evidence is going to be tested before a judge, not a jury. The standard that we have to meet is not beyond a reasonable doubt at the preliminary hearing stage. It is probable cause.
Right.
We are not obligated, nor will we be presenting all the evidence at a preliminary hearing that we will be presenting at a trial to prove David beyond a reasonable doubt.
So they're saving some of the evidence for the trial.
3 felony charges of which he has been charged.
Got it.
So at the preliminary hearing, we will call a number of officers. We estimate there'll be over 10 different witnesses.
Okay.
Both officer testimony, coroner testimony, and there'll be individual witnesses as well.
The coroner.
And again, we can
The coroner is going to testify. He just said coroner testimony.
On hearsay and other things that won't be allowed to be relied on in an actual trial. The judge at the end of the presentation of the evidence, and again, this is evidence that can be cross-examined by a defense attorney,
Right.
and that process has already been begun.
Okay.
At the end of the presentation of all this evidence, the question will be, will David be held to answer on the 3 felony charges?
Right.
We believe we will more than accomplish the evidentiary burden of probable cause at this point to hold David to answer on these 3 felony charges. At that point, if the judge does hold him to answer, we will file an information that will detail the actual 3 criminal charges. Thereafter, there will be a trial date that will be set, and David, if he so chooses, will proceed to trial. And we will prove at that point, beyond a...
Oh my gosh, left pinky holds power. That's true. I always wear this literal Jesus on my left pinky because my dad used to wear this pendant on his neck. I have the Jesus right next to my engagement ring and my other little pink ring. Anyway, I got it because I was running out of fingers to put rings on, so I got it in that size, but it's like sentimental because it reminds me of my dad, but I didn't know that about the left pinky. Okay, we already watched that David Hockman thing or whatever his name is, Nathan. Okay, so let's see. So the DA addressed the public. I think that this is definitely going to go. I have a poll up. If you want to vote in the poll, make sure you vote in the poll. But I think that this is definitely going to move forward to a trial. Okay, so shout out to Kadisha Lynn. Now, I want to turn from, we just looked at more traditional sort of mainstream news media sources. We looked at the New York Times. We looked briefly at LA Times. We looked at Rolling Stone. We also looked at a few more tabloid-esque type things. We looked at the coverage of the video from Nathan Hockman. That was TMZ. We looked at people.com. So now I want to switch gears a little bit from the more mainstream sources to the more new media type realm. We already have kind of ventured into that direction from Kadisha Lynn, and I want to give a special shout out to Down the Rabbit Hole News. She was live for like at least 8 hours today. She might be live still. And FloJo TV, shout out to FloJo TV, who was also there. He was there in person. Rabbit, I think, was just covering it like kind of how I do, but she was live all day about it. So let me actually put that in the, so, you know, I'm probably not going to be live all day covering this preliminary hearing. I'm probably going to come in the afternoon, in the afternoons. But if y'all want like all day, you know, coverage, I don't know if she's going to be doing that again tomorrow or what, but she had like a panel on there. Let me show y'all her channel. And as soon as I was done with my live show earlier,
A mortgage
on
loan
the,
is a long-term loan used to buy or refinance real estate
girl,
where the
what?
property itself serves as
Shut up,
collateral.
Dan McNeff. Oh, she's still live right now. Shout out to her. So this is Rabbit's channel. She was live all day today. She's still live. She has a panel of people on there. I think FloJo TV, people that went there. So make sure y'all give her a subscribe. Let me put her channel on the list that I'm going to share here. Okay. So special shout out to her. Special shout out to FloJo TV. Okay. So let's go here. This is Celeste's parents, exclusive. Celeste Rivas' parents show up to court hearing. I guess that's their lawyer. And there's the parents. They arrived to court, exclusive. They made the trek into court today looking serious, obviously, as they arrived for the preliminary hearing. Jesus Rivas and Mercedes Martinez were spotted walking down the street in downtown Los Angeles, holding hands on their way into the courthouse. Prayers to them. Celeste's parents have attended some of the prior court proceedings, so it's not a total surprise to see them in court today, but the preliminary hearing is not going to be easy for them to stomach. Prosecutors are going to be laying out a mountain of evidence as they try to convince the judge there's enough evidence to proceed to a murder trial. Prosecutors say David, okay, we already know that. They released a statement. I've made videos on that. Okay, so there's that. Now, coming as a very delightful, exciting pleasant surprise to me. Guess who is doing on the ground, boots on the ground, court coverage? SLOAN. SLOAN. Okay.
I'm outside.
I love Sloan. He's one of my friends. He was one of the first huge YouTube creators to ever reach out to me, to help me, to believe in me, to give me a boost of confidence. Like 5-6 years ago when I first started covering Britney Spears stuff, he was like, you need to be on YouTube. So shout out to Sloan. He will always and forever have a special place in my heart. And now he's on the ground covering the court case. Look at him 10 hours ago. Look like he's in the parking lot.
Well, not yet, but I'm getting closer and closer to the courthouse. I'm 45 minutes early. The courthouse opens at 7, so I'm probably gonna make my way there and see what it looks like on the outside. It's a lottery system, so there's a chance I might not be able to get in today because it's all kind of random.
That is one of the things. I'm not gonna like waste y'all's time on my soapbox, but it's one of the things I hate so much. It's like, if you're not going to televise it, if you're not going to have overflow rooms, you're only going to let 10 people in. So thankfully, Sloan ended up getting allowed in, and we're going to watch a few of his reels, shorts, whatever it is, about it. But this is like, I'm going in chronological order.
So manifesting, I make it into the courtroom.
He did make it in.
And I want to like lock eyes with that mother.
He's
You guys have no idea how badly I dislike this man.
Okay.
Like for what he's done, the crimes he's committed.
Allegedly. We don't know. We weren't there.
Kind of nervous to be in the same room as him, but I'm going to be reporting on everything, keeping you guys up to date. I'll be making a YouTube video that'll come out tomorrow. So there might be new evidence brought up today. So I'm going to be taking a bunch of notes, and you guys will hear it from me first. The camera crews are starting to get together.
Okay, so he's outside the court. Let's hope this ticket gets me into the courtroom. Sloan is funny. I made it in. I will be in the David trial today. I was one of the lucky 10. Okay, so just to remind y'all, this is not technically speaking the trial, but I can totally understand why Sloan is calling it that. It hasn't started. It hasn't made it to trial yet. This is just the preliminary hearing. It doesn't really matter for purposes of talking about it, but sometimes people will be pedantic. Okay, there's this attorney made a speech. Okay, that was just 15 minutes ago, so he's been posting stuff. So let me go to Sloan's. Please don't advertise any shills and Mockingbird shills in my chat. I don't like fake Mockingbird shills that pretend to be YouTubers. Obviously, I'm not talking about Sloan, who I absolutely love. I'm seeing someone be named. I don't like that person. I don't want them named over here. That's a shill. That's like a freaking plant. Okay, I don't like that. I don't want to advertise that person. Okay, so this is Sloan. Oh my God, Slay. He is so funny. Ready or not, David, here I come. Look at him in his court his court outfit. Oh my gosh, Slay, so cute. Okay, so he's posted throughout the day several different updates.
So it looks like I am the first one outside of the courthouse for the David preliminary hearing today.
Nice.
For the David case, David Burke, D4VD. You guys may remember he killed Celeste Rivas.
Allegedly, according to prosecutors.
And today we have the preliminary hearing, which is when prosecutors come together and they present a bunch of evidence, maybe even evidence we haven't seen yet, to the judge, so the judge can decide if this can go to trial. So we don't have a jury or anything today. Actually, when it comes to his charges, I like to think of it in like 3 different buckets.
So shout out to Sloan. I'm really glad that he was the first one there. So he did end up winning one of the 10 spots in the so-called lottery, but I think that's fair. If you're the first one there, you should get one of the spots. He was out there sweating for the people all day.
Okay guys, so I was one of the 10 people that were allowed to go into the courthouse, and we've seen some pretty disturbing things so far. I mean, the attorneys are kind of going at each other.
Okay, we're getting boots on the ground. See, New York Times didn't report on this. People magazine did not report on this, but Sloan, well-known, Sloan Hooks, is reporting on this. He said the attorneys are going at each other.
Actually, we've had 2 witnesses so far. We had the police officer who did a check-in on a welfare check on Celeste at David's home. She was not there. And then we've had another detective. He's a homicide detective, and he's the one who uncovered the vehicle, like the Tesla with the bags in it. And guys, we saw pictures of her body. There was a photograph of her knee at one point, like her knee cap, and it had all of these like blue pieces of plastic in it from the chainsaw. I also saw her body in the Tesla with her head and her arms cut off. It was so graphic.
Brutal.
And it's really upsetting. Actually,
I
Celeste's father and mother and sister are all sitting.
Like for me, I have such a vivid like mental landscape that I don't even need to see the pictures for it to still haunt me. Like just hearing it kind of like vaguely described by many different people, I can already see it in my mind. I don't need to see it.
I mean, it just is so hard to go through this evidence and to see like them trying to like hide themselves from it, to see these images of their daughter that they would never imagine. It just truly shows how evil David is, and he can care less. The guy is chilling inside there. So I'm taking tons of notes.
He could care less. He's chilling.
As we get a longer recess, I will go and maybe go live or make a video and go through everything we have so far. But yeah, we've seen several images of the bags, of the body, and it's really horrific. I have no idea how David's lawyers going to try to weasel out of this one.
Yeah.
I'll keep you guys up to date. So far, 2 witnesses, this officer named Juan who did the welfare check, and this other guy named Josh Byers who is the detective, and we've gone through the evidence of the her body in the truck. You could see all these like maggots and flies and things like that. It's just really
something else they were not telling me from the New York Times, but I don't mind it. I mean, now there's like apparently supposedly like maggot experts. There's experts who are experts on the life cycle of a maggot and a fly, and they can tell how many generations have been breeding on a decomposing something.
graphic stuff, but I will be here to update you guys on what else happens next. Ooh. Okay guys, so I was one of the 10 people that were allowed to go into.
Yeah, okay. So y'all make sure you do go and support SLOAN too. He has recently had a very tragic incident where there was a lot of flooding, and it did affect him in his home, and he lost everything, and he's going through a tough time, and he's still making his way into this very emotionally draining hearing.
Okay, so we are on break right now. I'm gonna give you guys some updates. I've been taking
Okay, he's 4 hours ago. I'm like, yay, so happy you're doing this.
Many notes.
His notes.
Let's start at the beginning. So David's lawyer walked in, and I was surprised at how smiley she was. Okay. She was like laughing,
David's
smiling.
lawyer's smiling.
David, when he came out, I mean, he seemed pretty happy as well. But Beth Silverman, she's the attorney who is prosecuting David, and she came in a red power suit. She was not here to play. And immediately David's lawyer, Blair Burke, asked for the shackles to be taken off. The judge ultimately said the shackles will not be taken off. They will remove the handcuffs from him. But David's lawyer was trying to say that it was like inhumane that he was in these shackles. So there are 2 CDs that we were able to watch today. Or not one yet. There's one we're going to watch after break, but there's a 10-minute video. It's the body cam footage. So this.
So when I came up to start this live stream, they were still in court for the second half of the day. I think the break was over. They were back in court. So I don't know what that second video was yet. We'll probably all find out together. Court is still in session, and it's going to be in session for another 15 minutes, but this is from 4 hours ago. This is from like the first half of the day. And SLOAN is talking about how, they played that body camera footage from when the cops went over there to tell David about, you know, to look for Celeste at David's in 2024.
Juan was called to go and do a welfare check on February 17th, 2024. He came there, and we could see the full video of him and his partner, Deputy Thomas, go in, and they asked David, like, where is Celeste, and things like that. David kind of starts oversharing a little bit there. He says, oh, I've got beer in the fridge and things like that, because he is underage here. And the cop's like, I'm just trying to find where Celeste is at. It's even freakier is that David started showing some pictures to the officer Juan, and started to show him pictures of her and her yearbook and things like that. There was a moment where the officer said, like, oh, like, she looks like 13 or what.
This is where I heard that, where SLOAN was like, the officer said, this looks like a young girl. You're trying to sit here and act like you don't know how old she is. You're trying to sit here and act like this is an 18-year-old. This looks like a 6th grader.
Because at this point, David said that he was told by her that she was 18 years old. The thing I really loved was whenever Beth, the prosecutor, asked him if he thought that David was being cooperative, because the officer said, yeah, David was being cooperative, but cooperative to what point? Because he was literally lying. I'm going to go ahead and end this video, and then we can get into some of the pictures. I actually drew some. Okay, so we are on break right now. I'm going to give you guys some updates. I've been taking so many notes. Let's start at the beginning. So David's lawyer walked in, and I was surprised at how...
Sorry, I was sending a text. Okay, so now we're going to get into Sloan's pictures he drew. We got a courtroom reporter and courtroom artist in the making.
Now let's talk about Detective Josh Vyers. So he was the detective who's called to the tow yard the date that the vehicle was recovered, and he's gotten us so much information. This guy is the guy that knows everything. He's got all the surveillance and stuff. So pretty much on September 3rd, the car was sent to the impound lot.
Okay.
It was towed on the 3rd.
And remember, her birthday is the 5th. Celeste's birthday is the 5th.
This is where we get into some of the graphic pictures. I'm sorry, guys.
He drew the picture.
One of the photos we saw, this was exhibit 15, I believe, and it was a picture of it was a picture like this, and this is
Are you covering up your picture with your caption? And it's mirrored.
like the black trash bag, and there's blue ropes here. It was a tied trash bag, and pretty much all you can see in the background was like kind of a red and maggots everywhere. You can see maggots and bugs and larvae. Actually, what was interesting is Josh, the detective, said that you could see like the life cycle has happened with these organisms. And then this is the most graphic picture. Of course, these are drawings, but there's one of where you can see her body with her head and like her arm.
So they did not censor these photographs from the people sitting in the actual courtroom.
Gone, and it looks like she's face down, but it's so
Hard to
she's
tell.
so
Decomposed.
It's deteriorated that you couldn't really see, but her head was down here, and it almost looked like she had a strap type of thing here. The color of her body, this is so hard to talk about. It was actually
Right, she was wearing a tank top, supposedly, according to those initial reports.
so upsetting too, because I'm sitting right by the parents and I'm hearing all this stuff and I'm seeing the parents react, and it makes me want to cry. Like,
Yeah, it's so
at one point the
sad.
judge or like the attorney said, like,
Poor Sloan.
Celeste's full name is Celeste Abigail Rivas Hernandez, and her mom just started sobbing, and
It's sad.
It is
It's
hard being here.
It's got to be so surreal for the especially family members who truly knew her when she was alive.
It looks like, look, there's a bunch of attorneys and stuff over there. I don't know. They're all doing their own thing.
What are they doing,
Okay,
son?
so then that photo showed like kind of her head and her body. This one was another bag, and you can kind of
Okay,
see.
I don't know if Sloan's going to watch my coverage of this, but if he does, I hope that he next time moves these letters up or down or something. And so when he's showing his beautiful pictures that he took all that time drawing, we can see them.
Limbs were put into there. The arms were put into there, and I guess the limbs were cut around the knees.
Ugh.
So disturbing.
With a chainsaw.
And then there was another photograph. So then they wanted to show the fragments of plastic, and there were a bunch of fragments within the actual flesh, a lot of blue pieces, which
Right.
I believe comes
We
from
heard about those blue fragments embedded in her kneecap.
the chainsaw that he had used. So there was like, they had a right kneecap that had a bunch of pictures that they had showed us. We also saw her hands, because one of her hands had 2 fingers removed, assuming because David had a tattoo of his name on one of those fingers. The one finger that you did see, you could see the tattoo that she had, which matched David's. Now let's talk about Detective Josh Vyers. So he was the detective who's called
Okay,
to the
so
tow
we
yard
watched that
the
one.
date that the
And he has one more video from today, and it's called Metadata from the David trial.
What's really sad about the situation is that Josh,
This one's from 3 hours ago.
the detective, even revealed that Celeste's father, Jesus, called him on September 10th because
Okay, this was new. This was new news that came out today. And it's about Celeste Rivas Hernandez. And this is like, how did the cops actually identify her? Well, there was all this reporting that there was a body found in a trunk. It was Celeste's father, Jesus, who called the cops and said, "Is that my daughter?"
he felt like that was his daughter in the frunk of the Tesla. They actually ended up getting dental records, and that's how they were able to confirm that it was her. So I want
So they asked the dad, "Hey, has she ever been to the dentist? Does she have a dentist? If so, can we get her dental records?" And Jesus, Celeste's dad, said yes.
through some of the exhibits that we just went through in court. So we've got this one right here, which is 17A. And part of the court session is to prove that the technology that David used was actually used by David. So
Right.
there's this email called followit@gmail.com. Now, this email is also associated with a phone that is named Tranquilizer.
Okay, follow it is the email address, and the phone is called Tranquilizer. Now, we heard from Kadisha Lynn that Tranquilizer phone is missing. They have not recovered it.
Bizarre name for a phone. And then we spent, like, honestly, an hour just going through some of the metadata, because Josh said they pulled 6 to 8 terabytes of data, and they were able to essentially connect
That's
his
a lot of
phone,
data.
which is called Tranquilizer, to that Follow It email and to the Tesla, because every time you get into your Tesla, your phone connects. Well, specifically, they wanted to look at July 29th, because July
Right.
29th was the day that Tesla was abandoned. So they went on to go and see what was the Tesla up to that day. Actually, when they came to
So July 29th was the day that the Tesla was supposedly abandoned. So they wanted to look, sorry, Sloan, not trying to pause you there. So they wanted to look at the date the Tesla was abandoned. They wanted to look at the data and the evidence from that day specifically to try to see, okay, why was the Tesla abandoned that day? Well, we do know he was about to go on tour.
they found a receipt inside the vehicle from Ross Dress for Less. They found the date, and it was that July 29th date. So they kind of just walked it back. They went to the Ross. They found some security camera. Did prove that it was David driving that vehicle that day. And then they kind of followed his rounds. It looks like he went to Culver City at one point, and then he ultimately went home. Once he got home, he left.
So this is months after she was passed away. This was just like, like in April was when she supposedly passed away. They didn't find her body until September. So this is like right when he like parked the car, the Tesla, for the last time ever, and then went on his tour. He was doing all kind of stuff, going to the Ross, going to Culver City, and then he ends up coming back home.
Not right in front of his vehicle or right in front of his home, but actually right across the street, down a little bit, away from the home. It's out of sight, but it's relatively close. I mean, it's only like, what, a 4-minute walk from the house. I don't know if he thought that this was far enough or not, but after he left it there on July 29th, he must have just forgot about it, because from then it's...
Sloan, I highly doubt he forgot about it.
And it got tickets and tickets and tickets until ultimately it was sent to the tow yard in September. So you could see David's like lawyer trying to discredit some of the metadata here, trying to ask, like, how did you get this? Who's the expert on this? Like, how are you even able to explain it? And he's like,
they're good questions.
Yeah, they use a system called Celebrate. They were trained by police, and everyone uses it in any case that has technology.
Wah, wah.
Also, I think it's interesting that in the garage, they asked him like what evidence he collected. He collected forensic. We don't know what the forensics are.
Right.
A computer and cell phone, specifically an iPhone 15. So the
Okay.
iPhone that has the name Tranquilizer was never actually located.
Right.
The iPhone 15 was located in the house, and that phone had a bunch of pictures of David, had pictures of his passport, credit cards, all of that together. And ultimately, I think that was the phone that was used to go and purchase tickets to take Celeste out of the country, because he took her to London whenever she was a minor, which is completely illegal. But I'll be keeping you guys up to date on everything. Also, the names that he uses to order things on Amazon. What's really sad about the situation is that Josh, the detective, even revealed that Celeste's father, Jesus...
Okay, so let me just do a refresh and see if he's sent anything else. Oh yeah, he has 2 more new videos since then. Let's watch the 2 recent updates. This is from 12 minutes ago, so we have kind of a breaking update from Sloan. Why is David's mom paying his accountant so much money? Their sketchy bail plan makes me sick.
You guys about this sketchy witness. So this guy named Benjamin Greger took the stand. So he was
new witness. Okay, so breaking news update from the David trial, preliminary hearing 12 minutes ago from Sloan, who is there. There's a third witness, somebody Greger.
Like a financial advisor at one point. He was hired by this man, Josh Marshall, and
Josh Marshall was the guy who was renting David's his house for him. Josh Marshall was the guy who's the lease was actually under his name, and he was from the record label. So not only that, there's this other manager, Morgan Roth, Robert Morgan Roth. So they're talking about Josh Marshall got this guy, this financial guy, hired onto the David's, docket or management team.
Worked with Robert Morgan Roth.
Right.
So
So they all
Robert
worked
was
together.
David's day-to-day manager. Well, it seems like Benjamin came into the picture because he knows finances.
Okay.
And what I thought was so evil is that
Tell me.
the prosecutor was asking him questions about how they were trying to formulate bail, because they were trying to get $2 million. And I mean they by Benjamin and David's mother.
Okay.
David's mom, Colleen. So
David's mom, Colleen, was trying to bail David out of jail. And to help her do that, she was working with David's finance guy from, the record label associates or whatever.
like Benjamin have been in cahoots, trying to figure out a way to move all of David's assets. They even emptied out his IRA, which is his...
Remember when they transferred the houses into his mom's name?
Which had like $150K.
And David was like, what is he, like 25 or 20 years old? They emptied out his retirement.
emptied it all out and they moved it into these different trusts because they had one goal and one goal only. Not only to secure the $2 million in bail, but also to move all of the money from David's ownership to his mom's ownership, because they want to make sure that Celeste's family can never sue them in a...
That's probably why they moved the money, because they want to keep it. They don't want Celeste's parents to keep it, but we really don't know why they moved the money.
Suit and take all the money he's made. They revealed that he's made about $11 million in his entire career, and I think it's literally evil that they want to move all the money around just so that...
It was interesting they moved that house into his mom's name. We already knew that.
Celeste's family could never get any bit of it. Like I said, Josh Marshall also worked for this company. He hired Benjamin. I found it interesting that Benjamin did share that he's no longer friends with Josh Marshall. Seems like they had a falling out earlier this year, and I feel like it has to do
with this case.
Me
too.
Also, the prosecutors were asking him, he would normally text and call, with Robert or with Josh, but as soon as this Tesla situation happened, they moved over to Signal, which is kind of sketchy.
Yeah.
Seems like anytime there was any talk about bail, about the crime, they moved it over to Signal so that it was encrypted so that nobody could ever see these messages. So the money of it all is freaky. It almost surpasses David, because I feel like David's mom, Colleen, likes the money and wants to keep the money for herself.
Of course.
Oh, another interesting thing. So Benjamin is still working with Colleen. And get this, David's mom...
So the finance guy is still working with David's mom on whatever they're doing.
Paying Benjamin $7,500 a month on a retainer. He said that's what he makes a month. But last week, he was hired by her to find an entertainment attorney. Well, then, if you were hired last week to find an entertainment attorney, why are you being paid on a retainer, of $7,500 retainer? It is interesting, the money game, and I can't wait to see where the paper trail goes. Okay, so I just got
That's an interesting side plot to this whole thing, is the possible cover-up. Okay, so he has posted one more video very recently, evidence found in David's home. Again, this is boots on the ground. He is there at the hearing.
Let's talk about the chainsaws. So
this was posted 16 minutes ago. He said, let's talk about the chainsaw.
4 chainsaws at David's home. There were 2 red ones, there's one handheld one, and another blue one. Well, it turns out that the 3 red colored one has a pink handle, none of those came back with any DNA or blood evidence on it. Now, the blue chainsaw, we have no idea where this is at. It looks like he got it from maybe a Postmates or something along those lines. So when it comes to the chainsaw theory, we've always heard there's 2 chainsaws. Sounds like the multiple chainsaws weren't used. It sounds like it was just this blue one, which kind of explains the parts. There were some pictures shown.
Interesting. So there were multiple chainsaws, 2, 3, I don't exactly know. But as far as the forensic evidence is concerned, SLOAN is saying that it was disclosed, revealed in court today. As far as DNA evidence, they only found DNA evidence on one of multiple chainsaws. So the other ones weren't maybe used. Who knows?
This is so another issue that David's attorney had with the whole situation is that they don't trust the medical examiner's office. They want to discredit them.
We know this. And we've been seeing Mark Garagos and his people kind of try to discredit the medical examiner from the first moment.
Just tell they want to discredit them so badly. Because the cops, when they had the bag with her body in it, with the juice and everything like that, they didn't know what to do with the evidence, because you can't just go put that in a locker in evidence. They need to get rid of it. So essentially, what the detective said was that let's just remove the handles and the zipper from the bag. We'll save those, we'll test those, and we'll get rid of the bag in general. And it seems like David's attorney wants to try to find a way to make it seem like somebody messed with the body. So we saw another image of the body. It was in the bag, and the body was right in here. There was a shoe also photographed in this image.
Okay, a shoe.
It seems like they're trying to discredit the medical examiner's office, or trying to make it seem like when the detective went to Hollywood to the tow yard that maybe the officers or the medical examiner...
Oh, shoot.
Let's talk about the chainsaws. So there were 4 chainsaws at David's home. There were 2 red ones. There's 1 handheld one, and
good to know. 4 chainsaws being mentioned. 4 at David's home.
Blue one. Well, it turns out that the 3 red colored one has a pink handle. None of those came back with any DNA or blood evidence on it. Now, the blue chainsaw. We have no idea where this is at.
Sorry,
it looks
it
like you got
started
it from
over.
maybe
I don't
like
know
a
how to, like,
Postmates or
fast
something
forward
along
here.
those lines. So when it comes to the chainsaw theory, we've always heard like there's 2 chainsaws. Sounds like the multiple chainsaws weren't used. It sounds like it was just this blue one, which kind of
The one
explains
chainsaw, the
the
blue one.
parts. There were some pictures shown. This is like, so another issue that David's attorney had with the whole situation is that they don't trust the medical examiner's office. They want to discredit them, and I could just tell they want to discredit them so badly, because the cops, when they had the bag with her body in it, with the juice and everything like that,
Ew.
like, they didn't know what to do with the evidence, because you can't just go put that in a locker in evidence. Like, they need to get rid of it. So essentially, what the detective said was that let's just remove the handles and the zipper from the bag. We'll save those, we'll test those, and we'll get rid of the bag in general. And it seems like David's attorney wants to try to find a way to make it seem like somebody messed with the body. So like, we saw another image of the body. It was in the bag, and the body was right in here. There was like a shoe also photographed in this image, and it seems like they're trying to discredit the medical examiner's office, or trying to make it seem like when the detective went to Hollywood to the tow yard that like maybe the officers or the medical examiner had messed with the body. They're trying to say that the results are not going to be accurate when it comes to the autopsy, and I can't wait for her to try to say that, because I'm going to be laughing out loud. It does look like there were some swabs that were taken from his home. You guys know there was a burn cage that was found there. It was found unopened. There was a fire mat that was also purchased on Amazon from David under a fake name. The mat has not been found. The mat...
That is another new piece of evidence, that there was a fireproof mat that was also ordered.
withstand 3,000 degrees of fire heat, I guess. Oh, and the blue iPhone. So there's this blue iPhone that was found in the den of David's home, and they got a lot of information about David from this. Well, David's lawyers are trying to convince us that the blue phone was actually Celeste's phone.
Okay.
Which is bizarre, because the blue phone had pictures of David's passport, picture of credit cards, pictures of David and Celeste. So they're trying to make it seem like the blue phone was Celeste's. They're also at the end trying to make it seem like David can't take care of himself. He can't pay his bills. He doesn't do anything for himself. So I
They
feel
always be doing this. They always try to act like these famous people can't take care of themselves. They need handlers. They need mommy, daddy, managers. They need money changers involved in everything that they do. And if they don't have someone taking care of even wiping their freaking ass at the end of the day, they're gonna just perish. And who even knows? Somehow they made it their whole life without these handlers, but now they need some.
gonna try to play the card of like weak celebrity who just like didn't know what he was doing, and
Yes.
everyone around him was about.
They're gonna say he was just this poor innocent young man. This is what they did in the Diddy trial, and Diddy is like 79 and a half years old. So you know they're gonna do it for David. He wasn't even old enough to drink at the time, but that didn't stop him from having that alcohol in his fridge.
Influence, which I'm not buying it. Let's talk about the chainsaws. So there
Okay.
were 4.
I'm just taking my little notes here. Just give me one moment. Okay. Shout out to SLOAN. Does he need to be in a conservatorship? That's what they're going to say. And I also have anticipated that they're going to say that at the time he was on drugs, he was drunk, he's now been to rehab, he was in psychosis. I anticipate that his defense is going to talk about his substance use and say that he was, kind of like out of his mind. I think that's what they're going to probably do. And if what SLOAN is saying is true, they were in there trying to act like he was so, weak and unable to do, whatever, that would fit in right there with that theory. Okay. I think we're just going to my note. Okay. We already looked at that. All right. So shout out to SLOAN. So not only is SLOAN out there, the whole gang, the gang's all here. We also have trial coverage extraordinaire. Frankly, one of the greatest to ever do it that I've ever seen. Armand Wiggins is bringing us the tea. Okay, so let's start here. This is on YouTube. He did put up one short. And as you can see, he has a different color tag than SLOAN. SLOAN had that green one. Or yellow. See, it's yellow here. He has a public. Armand has thankfully been able to secure one of the media passes. So I'm glad that he has that, because that would probably mean that he has more of a solid chance of getting in each day than if he was waiting for just one of those 10 public spots, which I think is great because I love Armand's court coverage.
Are here at the David Burke versus the people. This trial
It's
is
the people versus David Burke, Armand.
the most gruesome, nasty, dark trial that I've ever done. The fact that we're sitting here looking at torsos, dismembered arms, legs, feet chopped off at the knees. You've got the mom in there crying, like tapping her eyes. You have Beth Silverman in the hallways telling her, you know what, this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning.
It does look like he is shaken up. He's usually able to kind of like still kind of ha he he a little bit, like even when it is very dark and very serious. That's one of the things I really appreciate about his coverage. Like you can tell he's like, y'all, just starting out, just for you, just so you know, this is dark.
The dad is going through emotions. It's a lot. David is seemingly very calm in there, though.
Everyone's reporting that.
In
Same.
an eerie way to me. I thought that was interesting. Like, he came in laughing and kind of like real jovial. And even
It's like he wants to be Diddy or something.
attorneys seem to be, you know, not really fazed by the evidence. But I'm like, they've done a great job by, you know, the prosecution has done a great job by, you know, associating David with the cell phone records, associating David with the black Tesla, which associates the body. It's a thing. But for me, seeing that girl's hand chopped up like
The
that
hand.
with the missing fingers, and then they had the one.
It's hard to imagine like regular people who we've like, you know, seen in other trials and their coverage, like regular YouTubers like me and you. I mean, I say that they're both obviously way bigger YouTubers but than I am, but like they just saw the amputated fingers today. They just saw that the fingers got it, like they just saw it today.
Finger with the on the side, like, and it was clear as day. The finger just laying there. Then it was just the whole body with the head and the torso. No arms, no legs, no knees,
No knees.
and just maggots. This is a lot. This is a lot. It's gonna be a big deal. I hadn't seen anything like this before, so. But we're gonna recap it all tonight on YouTube, and I will see you
Oh my
guys
God. I cannot wait to watch that live. I love watching his lives after court.
after the break.
I mean, it is real news, I'll tell you that. So that's not the only platform he's reporting on. He also reported on it on his Twitter. This David Burke, Celeste Rivas case just got real. Prosecution shows amputated body, legs, arms, head, hand, and fingers. This was at 5:56 p.m. just a couple of hours ago. So I'm going to put this on my list of things to link down below. Armand Wiggins, he did excellent coverage of the Diddy trial. He did excellent coverage of the Milagro, Megan Pete the Stallion versus Milagro Grams Cooper. Okay, so I did go ahead and link. Okay, I'll link. I'm keeping track of the things that I have shown y'all from the creators, and I'm providing a link to each one of their channels. I'm going to update it all at once at the end of the stream. Okay, so also Mark the Shark live tweet. Okay, he live tweeted here. Hold on, let me sign into Twitter. Mark the Shark was there, boots on the ground. Oh. Breaking news 50 minutes ago. Mark the Shark said, breaking, I heard it myself. The prosecutor, Beth Silverman, told the Stanfield family's attorney, who are the Stanfields, she doesn't want anyone speaking to SF Investigates. She said he's been talking crap about the family and their parenting. Oh, girl, let me scroll back. Oh, girl. Okay, Mark the Shark has been out there today. 15 hours ago, on my way to the David hearing, courtroom access is limited. Will I get a spot? He did post his own POV of the Nathan Hochman speech. Oh, no, sorry, excuse me. That was somebody else. He reshared. Okay, one of David's aliases he used to purchase Amazon orders was Trayvon Davis. David admits to meeting Celeste on Discord in late 2020 or early 2021. So this is like 2 years earlier than even the prosecution said that he met her. So 2020, she would have been like, when was she born? 2010? I think she would have been 10 years old? 11? Just turned 11? Eek. David admits to meeting Celeste Rivas at Laguna Beach, November 2023, and the last time he spoke with her was supposedly February 13th, the day before Valentine's Day, 2024, and that was from that body camera footage. Now, we get some more evidence from Mark the Shark, who was there. This is specific evidence that we are being told from boots on the ground, and we haven't seen this anywhere else yet. License plate readers from police vehicles passing David's neighborhood places the Tesla after July 29th through September 5th in the same spot. Okay. Moving up. Neighbor camera. This is 4 hours ago. Neighbor camera in Hollywood Hills catches David entering his place July 29th at 2:20 p.m. That's the Doheny Place, Los Angeles, California. 1 hour ago. Third witness takes the stand. Benjamin Greger, director of finance for David. David's gross earnings from 2023 to 2025 was estimated at $10 to $11 million. Beth Silverman is grilling Benjamin Greger on David's financial motive. Because remember, one of the special circumstances for the unalive is that David unalived Celeste specifically for financial reasons. He didn't want to lose that money. What money? Well, this money right here. Cha-ching. This director of finance is in regular communication with David's mom, Colleen. Breaking, he said, I heard it myself. Beth Silverman told the Stanfield family's attorney. She doesn't want anyone speaking to SF Investigates because he's been talking crap. He posted 21 hours ago. Wow. Let's read what Steve Fisher, the prosecutor, named him by name today and said, I don't want nobody talking to him, this private investigator. He tweeted yesterday, the time has come, he said. The preliminary hearing in the David case begins tomorrow. It's time for the prosecution to lay out its evidence and step on the neck of David Anthony Burke, who I believe is responsible for one of the most horrific crimes in history. There are several issues I will be watching closely. First, what is the context behind the prosecution's statement that David watched Celeste bleed out? That is not what this... I love Steve Fisher. I really do. I love his investigation, but the prosecutors did not ever say this. And I think he misread it the first time, and he hasn't been back to read what it actually says. It doesn't say he stood by and watched. It only merely says he stood by while she bled out. He could have stood by turning the other way. He could have stood by in the dark. He could have stood by with a blindfold on. They did not say he watched. They never said he watched. If they had said he watched, David stood there and watched, Steve absolutely would be 100% correct. They never said he watched. They never said that. They said he stood by while Celeste bled out. Second, where was Celeste's body during the 12 days between the date prosecutors contend that she was unalived and that then when she was dismembered? That part of the timeline does not yet make sense to me, and I'm very interested in seeing how the prosecution establishes it. I also want to know what conversations took place after the news broke that David's Tesla had been found with a body. Oh yeah, me too, Steve. Me too. I want to know too. I want to know what the conversations took place after David found out about there was a body found in his Tesla. Who said what and when? At that time, he was on tour. Asia was with him. Neo had been with him. His management team was either traveling with him or in very regular contact with him. What did they ask him? What did he tell them? Or did any of them already know? Who was staying at the house when the Tesla was towed with Celeste's body inside in like September 2025? Who remained there until the night before the search warrant was served? I think it was Asia. We know from a noise complaint somebody was reportedly at the residence the night before the search warrant. Why were they staying there? What was their understanding of why the Tesla had been parked a block away while Asia's vehicle remained in front of the house from the time they left for the tour until after the search warrant was served? And again, I think her dad came and picked that up, her vehicle. Another great question from Steve Fisher, SF Investigates. Did anyone receive immunity? If so, we might not hear from that witness during this preliminary hearing, but other testimony may allow us to read between the lines. Finally, at the arraignment, David's attorneys said the evidence would show he was not responsible for Celeste's death. Fine, if that's their position, how do they contend that she died? And who do they claim is responsible? In my opinion, Steve Fisher Investigates says, David is no longer fighting for his freedom. He's fighting between the death penalty or a plea for life in prison without the possibility of parole. This is all my opinion. I'm here for justice for Celeste. Now, he did also say on July 17th, several days ago, the following. The court is only allowing 10 members of the public into the preliminary hearing. This is how they always do, Steve. This is how they always do. They did this in Brittany's too. It was either 9, 10, or 11 each day. Diddy's, same thing. They either would let 11 in or 14 in. They always do this. It's really crazy. The Diddy one was in New York in federal court, and this is in LA. Like, they never want the public in these hearings. They never want the public to be able to see what's going on in these public hearings. It actually is very infuriating. Steve Fisher said it's outrageous. I agree. And not how public access to the courts should work. There is supposed to be a reasonable balance between seating for the press and seating for the public. Do you know how many press seats they usually give? About 60. 60. So for every one member of the public, there's 6 members of the press. And then as you can see, even some of the public seats do get taken up by, YouTubers and stuff. So this is not YouTubers' fault. This is the court's fault. It should be open and transparent. You should not have to have a lottery to see a public hearing. That is outrageous. Bombastic, some might even say. There's supposed to be a reasonable balance between seating for the press and seating for the public. This is a large courtroom and only 10 seats are being made available to the public. So Steve Fisher was speculating the family wouldn't be there, but they are there. They're not allowing cameras at all, even for testimony that doesn't include, stuff we shouldn't see as the public. Documents have been sealed throughout this case, and now access to the courtroom is being severely restricted. At this point, it feels as though they're making up their own rules. Agreed. So it's interesting that this guy that, Steve Fisher, SF Investigates, was specifically targeted today in court. According to Mark the Shark, he said he heard it himself. The prosecutor don't like SF Investigates. She said he was talking crap, so the Stanfield family attorney shouldn't talk to SF Investigates. That's crazy to me. That is insane to me. Thank you, Ashley Jensen, member for 3 months. Love you all. Like the video. Yes, like the video. Thank you to The Art of Personality for the 2 gems. Thank you, Sewed Freak, for the 800 gems. Husky. Thank you to The Art of Personal Story for the 10 gems gold coin. Thank you, CB, for the 2 gems sparkles. Thank you, Tara, for 10 gem gold coin and the silver star. Thanks so much to Player Profit for being a member for 3 months. This is not the brick and the minifig. Yeah, no, it is not. We are on David. We are in a full murder investigation right now. Murder preliminary hearing. Rose Investigates. Welcome to the other side of what I do. Thank you for the $1.99. Thank you, Kitty, for the $2 super chat. He thought being on tour would be his alibi. Probably so. Thank you, Better Try Again, for the 2 gem sparkles. And thank you to MJ Lee for the 80 gems. Clock it. Thank you to Katie. Thank you to Katie for the 1,000 gems. Goat trophy. I wish I could see what these things are. It just tells me floating heart. It doesn't show me the actual little emojis. Thank you, Sage, for the 10 gems. And thank you to Romance Donna for the 440 gems. These gems are new to me. I don't know what this gems are. Okay, but I like them. Shout out to y'all for the gems. Okay, so I have some other content creators, YouTubers, etc. to look at. But before that, I want to take a quick, brief restroom break. And then we're going to watch some more people's coverage from the court today, from Boots on the Ground. I need to get like a waiting room song for these moments. Okay, I'm back. Okay, you get the gems from money, but you can also get some built up credits from clicking like and making comments. Oh, okay. I don't know how it works. You can redeem free ones. Cool. Okay, moving right along. Trap Lore Ross was some boot on the ground today, so let's see what he had to say. Got a 1 minute long clip here. Update from David hearing.
Okay, folks, I'm here outside at the David trial and with
Jesus, it's not a trial and that is loud. Okay, hold on.
all the media. It is very, very intense today. There's been
Okay, so he has a media pass as well.
some very, very big updates from inside that I've just witnessed, and we've just seen some of the key evidence that they're going
Is it just me or this is so loud?
to be presenting against David. So this is the preliminary hearing. We're seeing some of the evidence that's likely to be used against him, and really it's damning stuff. What we've seen so far is body cam footage of in 2024 in February when basically an LA sheriff was sent to David's home at the request of the Riverside County Sheriff, and they basically got in touch with David personally. We saw the body worn video where they went to his property, they asked him about Celeste, they searched the property for her, and they basically had a back and forth with him about her age. He said that he thought that she was 18, that he'd heard from other people she was 18. We also saw some very, very uncomfortable and gruesome photos of the state of the remains that were found in the Tesla.
Everyone's face kind of like you can tell it was rough for them to see this, which it should be. If you have a heart, it would be.
And it was just really, really awful stuff. Everybody in the courtroom was shocked. I'm going to have a much bigger update for you guys shortly, but that's the latest so far.
Okay.
Okay, folks, I'm here outside.
So was that on Twitter he posted that? That's like an academics TV. Let's see. Did he post that on his own Twitter or
this young boy future be
No, let's see. Okay, no. Was it on YouTube he posted about that? Hold on. I'm just trying to see if Trap Lore Ross posted about this anywhere else. He did. He made a 25-minute long video. Was it live? Where is it? Oh, it was on Trap More Ross probably. Okay, yeah. Okay, so 3 hours ago he made a video, I guess like outside the court.
Okay, I'm here outside the courthouse once again for the David hearing. Now, today has been very controversial. There's been quite a lot of debate about whether or not
It's a nice camera. Is that a phone?
different people from the media will get in. So I'm here, all right? I wasn't sure if it was going to be possible for me to come in, but I'm here. There's a lot of other media here, a lot of very, serious mainstream-looking media outside. And basically, it's a very interesting situation today because they basically announced kind of a few days ago that, access to the,
Okay, we knew that.
and everything that's going on. It's very, very interesting right now. But yeah, we're really trying to just get to the bottom of what's going on. So a lot of people have been kind of upset about the fact that, you know, it's not going to be as open as some of the previous hearings.
This
There's been
right here, I
a lot of talk
believe,
on
is
Reddit
Mark
about
the
people saying
Shark.
that it's being kind of closed off to the public. And
Okay, this looks like this is all just from the morning. Okay, let's go to after this.
That is doing this determination, not a jury at this point, and that there will subsequently be a trial when the judge
So then he gets in the car.
holds David to answer on these 3 felony charges. When this preliminary hearing is over,
all right, so we're here at the recess, partway through the trial. I did get inside, I got a badge and everything. We managed to make it through. Thanks to the lottery, thanks to the press and the media team helping me and supporting me. It's very, very interesting. So we just heard from the DA. He gave a little bit of update and basically said some details about what they're doing, how they're pursuing the death penalty. I'm about to get in the car and just go for a very quick lunch meeting with somebody, but I'll give you a little bit more of an update once I get inside the car. Okay. But yeah, there's a lot going on. All right, folks, so I'm just in the back of the car. I'm about to go and get some lunch in between the trials. So we've got about an hour and a half break, and I've basically just got a crazy, crazy update on everything that's been going on. So just been inside the trial. We managed to get inside, even though there was a lot of controversy about this ticket lottery. I didn't win the ticket lottery, but I managed to get in on a media standby list. So thankfully, they were supporting independent media and making sure that some of the...
So because he had a YouTube channel or whatever, they let him go in as media, even though he didn't get in as public.
The people that weren't, you know, on the mainstream guaranteed media list to get in there, and I really appreciate and respect that. I thought that was really, really positive, and I'm very thankful that the media team at the courthouse are just so helpful and cooperative, and were able to help me get to where I needed to be. So there were some pretty major updates. I'll be honest with you, I'm going to do a massive update at the end of the day when I get home with all of my notes. But for now, this is just a quick little pre-update as I'm kind of moving around, about to go ahead and get some lunch. But basically, the major update that we saw was we saw the police body cam footage of the police visiting David's residence. There was a very controversial, you know, incident where the police from the Riverside County Sheriffs had sent police from the LAPD or the LA County Sheriffs to Hollywood to go and investigate David's property. And while they were there, they asked him about Celeste. And we saw a very nervous David. I'll give you more details about it later.
Okay, so in the camera footage, we're hearing now for the first time from Trap Lore Ross that David looked nervous in that camera footage. But his lawyers are like, but wasn't he being cooperative? Wasn't he being cooperative? And the cop was like, I mean, I guess, but like he looked nervous in the footage, according to Trap Lore Ross, who was there in the courtroom today.
My notes, but we saw kind of a very nervous David, sort of unsure of himself, and, you know, sort of saying, oh, I thought she was 18. He said, some people have been saying she's 13, but I thought she was 18. She told me she was 18. And it was actually quite interesting because David's defense, they kind of clapped back and basically explained that, you know, nowhere in the video did the officer say explicitly she's definitely 13. Even the officer kind of said, oh, I think she's 13. So that was really up for debate. And honestly, it gave me pause a little bit to think, okay, there's a little bit more ammunition for defense on that.
Right. So now David's side can say, well, they never told David she was 13. And it's like, yeah, but the official missing persons flyer from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children said she was 13. You would imagine that the cops had gone ahead and verified her age. So it will make it very difficult for, not very, it will make it somewhat more difficult for the prosecution to say David knew for sure she was 13. But I think a jury is going to be smart enough to realize, okay, but it said she was 13 on the missing persons flyer. And she was, in fact, indeed 13 at the time. No, not Lord. Lore, not Lord.
Particular incident than we maybe thought. So I thought that was very fascinating. And after that, the really most horrific stuff that we saw was the images of, you know, the remains that were found in the Tesla.
Everyone's saying
in the body
was
bags,
the
in the black
worst
trash bags, in the trunk. It was very, very bad. It was just absolutely horrific. There were gasps inside the courtroom. You know, unfortunately, Celeste's family was actually in the court, and you know, they just looked absolutely distraught. David was really just staring right ahead, looking at the screen. He wasn't looking away. It seemed to me that you know, Blair Burke, his lawyer, was looking away quite a bit and kind of looking down.
She didn't want to look at that, and I don't blame her. I don't want to look at it either.
At her notes, but David himself, he was kind of locked in, looking right.
David was locked in. He liked it. Y'all know he likes looking at that stuff. He said he used to be addicted to it.
The screen, and obviously we've heard these rumors
Nasty.
and reports before that, you know, he's not going to be allowed any of his discovery in his cell. I don't know whether this might have even been the very first time that he'd actually seen, you know, the state of Celeste that she was left in when she was recovered in the Tesla. So it was very
true. Like, he didn't see the actual remains how the cops saw him yet.
very disturbing, to be completely honest with you.
Maybe he did through Brady, you know, disclosures and with his lawyer, but Trap Lore or Moore Ross is saying no. It looked like David never saw this before. He was perked up, locked in.
And I was honestly shocked. There was
not perked up as in substances, like he perked up in his seat.
Gasp in the courtroom. There was a very interesting moment.
There were gasps. There were gasps in the courtroom.
That he'd actually seen, you know, the state of Celeste that she was left in when she was recovered in the Tesla. So it was very, very disturbing, to be completely honest with you. And I was honestly shocked. There was a real gasp in the courtroom. There was a very interesting moment. There were some laughs, not at Celeste or not at the evidence, but, you know, Beth Silverman, the district attorney, deputy district attorney, was very fiery. She clapped back at certain things. She kind of made...
We're hearing that. We're hearing that there was some tension between the lawyers.
A little bit of a mockery of some of the objections that were going on, and like I said, I've got all of my notes that I'm going to break down to you later, but I'm just going between places, going to grab a little bite to eat
People are asking, where were David's parents? I don't think that they came today.
before I basically go into the next part of the trial and give you kind of a much bigger update at the end of the day. But we are seeing some absolutely harrowing scenes inside the court. It is a packed courtroom. It's absolutely packed to the brim. We're seeing kind of all kinds of evidence. We're seeing photographs of phones, cell phone records, numerous phones that were recovered. We're basically...
Okay, so now we're getting reports that they were there. The DA cussed out SF Investigates. I don't know if I believe that the DA cussed out SF Investigates, but it did seem like there was some words said.
Halfway through in this recess, the evidence that relates to the search on David's house.
My mama said nobody was there on David's side. I don't know. That's what I keep hearing. This is somebody in my chat's the only time that anybody said David's parents were there. Everybody else said they were not there, so take that with a grain of salt.
They were saying that blood was found on the brickwork. We've not got to that section yet, but they're talking about phones that were seized, how they kind of rifled. Basically, halfway through in this recess, the evidence that relates to the search on David's house. They were saying that blood was found on the brickwork. We've not got to that section yet, but they're talking about phones that were seized, how they kind of rifled through David's property. There really, really is a lot of stuff going on, and it is extremely harrowing, some of the stuff that we're seeing. I mean, some of the stuff is honestly heartbreaking. I really can't believe it. I don't think I've ever seen anything so gruesome as those pictures of inside that bag and inside that Tesla. I don't think those images will ever be released publicly.
I never want to see it.
Rightly so. A lot of people in the courtroom were disgusted. People looked away. People gasped.
It seems like people were shaken up.
It was really, really upsetting, to be honest with you. And I think just all of us just so solidified in just how horrible of a crime this was and just how much we need to see justice for Celeste. So I'm very, very interested to see where it...
The fact that there was this compelling evidence and this extreme of evidence, and that pretty much everybody who was boots on the ground, and even the ones who were reporting from the mainstream, like, they seem to agree on one thing, and that the pictures were horrible. And the fact that they're going to have the coroner come up here and testify that it's no question at all whatsoever, it was a stabbing death. The judge is going to have to let this move forward to trial. It just has to. It doesn't seem even possible that this isn't going to go to trial, at least forward to the next stage.
I'll leave this update here along with everything else that I've got. I'm going to try and finish my lunch real quick, just nearby, and then basically get back to the court.
Someone pushed him? Let me say specifically, she told Celeste's lawyer, don't talk to him, and loudly, and did push SF Investigates. I hope he sues the shit out of them. I might be wrong about the parents being there. Yes, he put hands on SF. Is there a video? That's actually crazy. The DA grabbed SF Investigates. When did that happen? Oh my, I'm going to SF Investigates Twitter. He hasn't said anything. Armand Wiggins did post an update from outside the courthouse an hour ago. While we wait to hear more information about the DA assaulting SF Investigates.
All right, guys, so we are here at the David Burke versus the People.
People versus...
This trial is probably the most...
Oh, we already watched this.
Gruesome, nasty, dark trial that I've ever done.
We already watched this. The Stanfields are for her family. SF did tweet it, but delete it. Is it on Reddit? Oh my God. Please, did somebody... Please tell me somebody got a picture of it. Okay, let's go to the David Reddit. Here's some sketches from the preliminary hearing. That's David. He's got his glasses. David. Shovel. Fire. Finger. That says Celeste. That's David's tattoo. That says Sh. People's Exhibit. That's, who is that? Beth Silverman with her red power suit. There's Blair Burke and David Burke, no relation. David looking very smug. Very smug. David's family is still seeking. This is interesting. Oh, SF Investigates went live. And he ranted about the law enforcement. Okay, this might be what they got so mad about. But Brian Enton, he covered the Nancy Guthrie case. He covered the Tyler Robinson case. He said, having just covered the Tyler Robinson preliminary hearing in Utah, the difference in transparency in the David case in LA is so striking. So much is hidden from the press in the courtroom in Utah, but they're showing it all here in LA. Let's go to the SF Investigates.
Hey, everybody. Hold
Oh,
up.
shoot. Let's see. I don't like that shell. Let's see. Where's the SF Investigates? Rewind to see him crash out, or this was posted 2 hours ago. I'm gonna have to find it within Rabbit's Live. Shout out to Down the Rabbit Hole News. Okay, so the reason I clicked on it is because in the Reddit here it says Steve is live. Rewind to see his rant on law enforcement. The DA. 2 hours ago, Benjamin Gregor testifying. 2 aliases. Breaking. No, don't care. Mark the Shark note. David's earnings. Don't care about her. I saw Celeste Rivas Hernandez parents standing in the hallway waiting to go back into the trial after lunch. They were alone, standing together, and you could feel the pain resonating from them. New sketches of David looking smug. Benjamin Gregor. Ellie Magazine. Here, hold on. Let me go. I'm going to go back several hours and then come up this way so it's not like we're going backwards. Celeste was on this London trip. Asia now done made her Instagram private. It was not private before. SF Investigates tweet we already saw. Celeste's parents show up to court. We looked at that. First witness was LA County Sheriff's deputy who went to the hearing. Okay, let's see. Oh, wait. Okay, hold on. This looks like this might be...
Magazine here today at
All right, so the name of this post is District Attorney Beth Silverman reportedly pulled Celeste's parents' friendly attorney away from Steve Fisher today. So the prosecutor, oh my God, she needs to chill out.
Claridge Shortridge Folds Courthouse today. It is the first day of David Anthony Burke's preliminary hearing, who was accused of the murder of Celeste Rivas Hernandez. We have a lot of press outside, as well as Lauren Conlin from Los Angeles Magazine upstairs in the courtroom now. She will be getting all the details live, and we will be reporting them to you as soon as we know them over on X. But for right now, I caught up with Steve Fisher from SF Investigates, who worked on this case.
He did.
To find out a little
He provided so much transparency to the public when we were getting none for months.
bit more about what we
And he has been bullied by these prosecutors already.
should expect today. And I also saw him have a tiff with the prosecutor. So I asked him about that.
It'll be kind of a slow start, I think. The detectives, will probably be called first, and they have to lay the foundation of all the evidence.
Oh, Steve is tatted up.
So they're not going to jump right into the really, awful parts. But they will, they'll lay the foundation of how Celeste and David met and how the
That is what they did. He was right.
And how it got to where it did.
You had a little interaction with Beth Silverman outside of the courtroom today. Can you speak a little bit about what happened?
Yeah, so Beth Silverman is not a fan of mine. More of that, I think, will come out as transcripts are released from grand juries and whatnot. Maybe the reason why she does not.
I think he testified for the grand jury twice or for 2 days.
I like the fact that I had kept the story. I've tried to keep it in the media. While nothing seemed to be happening, and this is before. He
did try to keep this story alive when it wasn't really even being reported on. He was like, justice for Celeste. He really did. He did. And good for him. Thankful. I'm thankful for it.
Transcripts were going on, and what happened in the hallway, which really kind of shocked me, was the family attorney for Celeste family. He came up and introduced himself. I didn't know he was. I never met him, and
he didn't know who he was. He never met him before. And Celeste Rivas Hernandez's family has an attorney. That attorney came up to Steve Fisher today in the hallway to say hi. I'm so and so lawyer for the family. Steve said, "Okay, I'd never met him. I didn't know him."
he took me aside, and we had a few nice words, and he thanked me for advocating.
So they were having a cordial, friendly conversation, mutual respect. The attorney thanked Steve Fisher for advocating for Celeste.
For Celeste, and that Silverman walked by and heard that, and actually grabbed him and told him she was not allowed.
She put hands on him. She put hands on the attorney and said, "You can't talk to him." Bitch, calm down and work your case.
Taught me that he was not allowed to talk to me.
Oh, now she gets to decide who the victim's family can talk to? Come on, Beth. Snap out of that shit. Direct that energy somewhere else.
And pulled him away. And that's
ridiculous.
really bizarre.
That's bizarre.
For the district attorney to say that an attorney for the family is not allowed to talk to me.
That's crazy.
Really,
That's
I don't understand
mania.
why that happened or the legalities around that. But she pulled him away and said right in front of you too, but in front of a lot of people, you're not allowed to talk.
You're not allowed to
not talk to him.
And we will be giving you updates on this case.
Okay, so someone said, shout out to I Am Dex in the chat. He is the genius behind the BJ Investigates theme song. Someone said in Rabbit's chat it was at the 8-minute what? Wait, timestamp is 5:58. Hold on, where is the person? 8 hours, 42 minutes, 42 seconds. Okay. Oh no, that's 21 hours ago. Where was that? Oh, yes. Okay, wait. SF Investigates did tweet something. Hold on, look. 6 hours ago, SF Investigates, while in the lobby of the courtroom at the David preliminary hearing, the attorney for Celeste's family approached me. We were having a conversation, and the Deputy DA, Beth Silverman, physically pulled him away from me and told him in front of everyone, "You're not allowed to talk to him." This is the same DA that tried to punish me in a secret court hearing by giving me a handwritten note to appear in court for a case that had no case number. Since when can a DA dictate who a private practice attorney can and can't talk to? What is she so concerned about? Hashtag Celeste Rivas Hernandez. David Discord mods trying to support. Justice for David. Justice D4 Hub rules. Justice for Celeste. So I guess David's... Hold on. I'm trying to find that. Hold on. I went all the way down, but... Oh, God.
What's up?
Shut up. David's family still seeking new entertainment attorney. Okay. 8 hours, 42 minutes, 43 seconds.
Hey, everybody.
Oh, SF Investigates came on her live.
Sorry, I'm like, what? Okay, so Blair Burke, real quick. So I don't know. Hey,
no.
I don't know. Hey, SF, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I know
this is a live stream. It's almost 11 hours long. Shout out to Down the Rabbit Hole News. Let me like this video. Let me also, I think I already have this in my little thing there, but SF Investigates came on Rabbit's live stream. Shout out to her and him both. So let's see what he said.
you're not there. I don't know if you're hearing what's happening right now at the court. Maybe I can give you a little update.
No,
So,
I just
He's
heard
like-
when I was like trying to log
He's like, update. Let me give you an update. I was assaulted.
in. I just had a problem that FloJo's with. I thought he got in the courtroom. Is it already over today?
He got in the courtroom and he left halfway.
no.
So no. So what happened, Steve, is that on my way up from lunch, I was literally 1 minute late, and Liz, the girl in the brown, took my badge. She had already given it to the interns. So
Gotta be there on time.
Sorry about that.
They don't
I'm
want the
glad you got
public
in
in
at
there.
least for the first part.
They don't want the
You put
public in
hours
there.
this case.
And if they can keep the public out, oh, they will. So that's a lesson learned for FloJo.
You deserve to be there.
Right.
Absolutely. I think,
Well, I mean,
literally.
I was hoping that you were gonna be able to get in too, because it was literally just you and me left, and
And it wasn't going to be me. It was a parent. Yeah.
So
Okay. Can I say something, SF? We were talking, right? And
yeah.
we saw the interview that you did with if you can't
we've
talk
seen
about
it
it,
now.
that's absolutely fine.
Oh no, I only delete. I'll just say I deleted the tweet because after thinking about it, I'm like, this is like Celeste Day, and I know that Twitter does have.
So that's why he deleted it. He didn't want to take away from Celeste. Okay.
Reach a lot of people that are interested in the case, and I didn't want it to seem like I was turning it about. If I was going to tweet other stuff throughout the day, like if I got in, I probably would have left it up. But I was like, I wanted it to be about Celeste. And I'm not saying I won't talk about it. I have no problem talking about it. I didn't want to be the only tweet out there, I guess, about that. You know what I mean?
Well, you're fine because we were up here talking with Flojo, and Flojo saw the interaction. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah.
I said, well, if you want to share a little bit, and then because apparently he was your witness to it too. I was like, what?
Yeah, it was. Well, so I have to let me just back up a minute and just kind of give a little context about the situation.
Okay.
Some people know, I think, if you think back a few months, that myself and the DA don't get along.
Okay.
And I'll just say and I just want to say this part first because a lot of people, there's some incorrect information about grand juries out there about how they work and the secrecy around them. They are very secret. However, the secrecy applies to the grand jurors, not to the witnesses.
Right.
The witnesses are actually allowed to speak about. They're allowed to say that they spoke from the grand jury. They can say what they testified.
Right. If you testify in a grand jury, you're allowed to talk about it. That part doesn't have to be secret. And that's one of the reasons why prosecutors have to be very careful about who they call.
Testified about. They're just not allowed to disclose anything that they learned from the grand jury.
Right.
If they didn't already know that.
Right.
So, but I'm going to respect that process and not say anything that I testified about. But I will say that I testified on 2 different dates.
Right.
At the grand jury.
We heard that before.
Once in, I think, November. Well, once in November, and once in December, and I was scheduled to come back a 3rd time, and I decided not to appear on the 3rd time because.
So he didn't show up for the 3rd time because it was a handwritten note.
I didn't have a proper subpoena, but I let the court know that, and then I didn't receive a proper subpoena. So, anyways, so there's some bad blood between myself and Beth.
Thanks so much to Valhalla. Shout out to Valhalla in the chat. It was so funny, like a lot of the brick by brick, like Lego folks coming in here. It feels like kind of weird or something because I've been covering like Reckless Ben, Legos and stuff for so many days in a row. It's now kind of like, oh yeah, David, and it's like my world's colliding in a way. Shout out to Valhalla and thank you for the congratulations.
She didn't like the fact that she made it very clear she didn't want me investigating the case.
Yeah.
She didn't like that there was things like the burn cage wasn't collected and some other evidence we thought was very important that was not collected, and they
right.
didn't think
that was another thing too. Steve Fisher was calling out the cops. He was calling out the prosecutors. He was calling out anybody and everybody who wasn't acting, in his opinion, fast enough, well enough, efficiently, and effectively enough to get justice for Celeste. He said, why didn't they get this evidence? Why was I the one that found a camera at the scene and the cops didn't pick this camera up and there's all these evidence pictures? Why was I the one that found this burn cage and not the cops? Why didn't the cops take this chainsaw? Whatever the case may be, he was calling them out.
The public needed to know about that, but they also weren't charging David, right? This is before there was charges dropped. It's easy to look back now and say, oh, well, they have all this other.
It's easy to look back now, but at the time, what was the information we were working with? Nobody had charged him. And a lot of people kept saying, look, if this was a regular Joe Schmo on the street and it wasn't some famous person, they would have been arrested that freaking day, tour or no tour.
They didn't need your stupid burn cage. Well, nothing was happening in the case at the time. And my client and myself, and the only reason I remained working for him is because it wasn't about his house. It wasn't about any financial thing. It was about this happened in my house. I want to make sure that girl.
Right. Remember the person who hired SF Investigates was the owner of the house David was living in and where the body was supposedly chopped up. So this guy wasn't getting enough answers from the cops. He wasn't getting enough answers from the people who were in charge. So he hired a private investigator, and that's SF Investigates.
Justice. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, so do what you need to do, and that took pissing off law enforcement, right?
Mm-hmm.
But finally something happened, and sure, once they charged it, we knew that we were gonna kind of everybody's gonna be like, well.
And SF Investigates, once the charges happened and David went to court and pled not guilty and stuff, he kind of stopped reporting on it. Once he saw the justice system took its hold on the situation, he even tweeted that. He said, I'm gonna let the justice system play out at this point. I'm gonna let the process play out. it was never my intention to be the court reporter. I was always just trying to get justice for Celeste. It looks like now they're going to be starting to try and do stuff. So peace out until something further happens.
Yeah, I mean,
fast forward to today, something further done happened.
So they're just interfering, but we stopped talking like after the charges and stuff, because we felt like, okay.
Shout out to IMDex TV. Apparently the BJ Investigates song is now on Spotify. So y'all can go and download it, listen to it, stream it.
Got it, now the wheels of justice are turning. So anyway,
right.
It's gonna be hard to talk about for some reason, but
he's getting emotional.
Attorney for Celeste.
Steve,
yeah.
do you need to take a minute? I mean,
no, it's okay.
Okay.
David Fisher Investigates is getting emotional. He said, "Oh, it's hard to talk about for some reason." Rabbit, she's a counselor. Do you need a minute? She's so sweet.
You're getting worked up, but I just want to make sure you're okay.
It was a very nice interaction that she unfortunately ruined. I did not know.
That sucks. He works so hard. He's getting targeted by the police and the district attorney. He's finally getting the one little thank you. So few investigators ever get a thank you, by the way. A lot of times we're fighting for the rights of people who are not among the living anymore. Sometimes we're trying to go against people who did the thing that was so bad and they have the microphone and, they're not appreciative of the work we're doing. The people in power do not like to be investigated. And so it's very rare that an investigator will get a thank you as it is. And he's like, finally, I'm getting this thank you. It was such a sweet interaction. And then Beth freaking Silverman ruined it.
The Celeste family's attorney was, but I was sitting on the on the benches.
Look at Flojo smiling.
Speaking to Taylor from LA Magazine, and this man came up to me and said, "Hey, Steve, I want to introduce myself. I'm the attorney for Celeste family." And we went to the middle where nobody could hear us, and he he thanked me for what we did and everything. And
that's sad.
And it was really nice. And then Beth Silverman came roaring down the middle of the aisle.
Here comes Beth. She was too riled up. She was just too riled up. She needs to direct that kamikaze energy to something else.
And physically grabbed him and pulled him away from me.
Physically grabbed him.
Said, "You are not allowed to talk to him." And I'm like, what in the world?
Fuck?
How can she dictate who he talks to?
How can she dictate who he talks to?
For one.
Who the hell is she? Who does she think she is? Lord Cornberry?
He's an attorney. I mean, and she didn't say it like whispering. She
like you're not allowed to talk to him. Wait, hold on. If you really think about what in the hell that even actually is she's saying, is the prosecutor on a case is saying that the family's attorney who's representing the family cannot talk to someone who has direct evidence from his own eyes, his own camera roll. He has evidence in his possession, or he has in the past, from that house. You're telling me that the dead girl's family can't talk to the private investigator who's been very obviously... That's stupid and wrong. Beth Silverman is actually incorrect on that one.
Made a scene. And it was really, it was sad because I was telling him, I'm like, listen, anything we can do to help you.
You can't talk.
People do. I said, but otherwise, we're out of it now. We're watching the wheels of justice just like you. And that's when she came up. And she just really
was a bitch. Cold-hearted bitch.
It didn't feel like it was about Celeste for her. It was about her feelings had been hurt.
It was about her. She don't like Steve Fisher, and everybody has to bow down to Queen Beth.
Because I didn't follow her rules.
Right.
And it was her showing,
her power.
She tried to do to me. She's the one who gave me the handwritten note to show up at court.
Right. She's used to this, Catholic school principal type of ruling with an iron fist. Everybody has to do what she says or else. And Steve Fisher Investigates is like, dude, chill out, lady.
And be like, listen, this is happening. I'm not going to go, but I need everybody to know, right? Because they're doing this secret hearing to punish me. And the DA is wielding this power, making shit up. You can't have secret hearings. And here she is telling Celeste family's attorney,
they can't talk to the private.
I didn't even know who he was.
He didn't even know who it was. He was just standing there minding his business.
He came up to me, and then she's like, "You are not allowed to talk to him." Not allowed to talk to him. And Flojo was sitting right across from me, and I'm like,
Flojo was sitting.
Actually, I was standing at that point, and I was like, Did I interpret that correctly? Am I understanding the English correctly? Because
Flojo's like, yes,
and I couldn't believe she did it in front of. I think some people were actually.
It's embarrassing. It's like getting fussed at by the first grade teacher in class or something. And Steve's he's really done more for this case publicly than Beth Silverman has done. I can say that as someone who's been following it for now almost a year.
For another courtroom, but because Flojo said, everybody was in pretty much at that point. But I was really shocked. She just didn't care, and I didn't feel like it was about Celeste. It was about her feelings.
Yeah.
And so I was angry, and I did do that interview, and I tweeted about it, and I'm not afraid to talk about it. I just don't want it to be. I don't want to. Again, this is about justice for Celeste, and but it pissed me off.
Yeah.
Ooh, I mean, I know that this case for you, Steve, is, I mean, you do cases all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
kudos to you, finding missing people and all that other stuff.
He finds
shout out
missing
to you.
people.
But I feel like this case in particular has been something that you've carried, through,
Well,
regardless of all the criticism, because you got a lot of criticism over this
Yeah.
case, but
Yeah.
you have carried it on, and you're like,
I haven't
I don't
seen
give a
any.
F. I'm gonna go through and see what I have to do.
Well, I mean, listen, in any high-profile case, I
I've only seen people saying they love Steve Fisher,
was involved with the case before it became OPAC.
except that bullhorn Betty. But doesn't she troll a lot of people?
Profile, to be honest with you, because the way I got involved was the day that she was found, before anybody knew it was Celeste. It was just a female in a Tesla, and I had
Right.
another case going on in LA, and we thought it could be that person.
That's
And
how we
why I was
got
in contact with
involved.
LAPD and the medical examiner's office, and I did an interview about it. It was before they knew it was Celeste, and the owner happened to, we happened to get in touch that way. But I'm always going to get a hard time from people, especially in high-profile cases. People just don't like that you're involved, or they want to. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, I very much approach cases from, especially because I only do missing persons. Like, information is power. Like, that's why I think Amber Alerts work. They reverse the whole system. Instead of keeping everything totally secret, they actually put all the information out there. Here's surveillance we got. Here's who we think abducted the person. Here's their license plate number. And what happens?
They find them.
Get cleared within hours, right? I mean, it works. Information works. Instead of this old school, keep everything secret, sealed documents, even the medical.
It's very interesting too, because from the perspective or the point of view of SF Investigates, this is all just too hush hush and too secret. But Brian Enton, who's been in an even more secretive, even more keep it to the chest court, he's praising LA for being so open and transparent. But Steve Fisher Investigates is saying no, they got it to work on too over here.
Who I applaud, coming out and saying, this is wrong. We shouldn't be under this gag order. Look what's happened because of a result of the gag order. Now we have all this rumor mill. We have people from the ME's office leaking information.
Right.
That's all a result of sealing documents that don't need to be sealed. So, but again, there's a way that we can debate those things. Like if Beth Silverman has a problem with me, instead of threatening me and doing stuff like that, she could say, let's sit down at my office for an hour or two. And let me tell you why I think it's wrong if you disclose information. And then you tell me why you think it's not a bad idea.
Because we do have the First Amendment. Beth should know that.
And maybe there'll be a productive conversation there. But she is a phenomenal DA. She's going to tear David apart. Let me tell you. But
see, he's fair. He's like, look, she's great at doing the job she's supposed to be doing, but this other extra stuff she ain't supposed to be doing, she needs to not.
In my opinion, she's a shitty person too. And I don't, and that's unfortunate.
So the family, so Celeste's family's lawyer wanted to thank you, right? Did you at least get a little bit of a conversation?
Yeah, he came up and he said, I represent them and we want to thank you.
He's still emotional.
Listen, and I've taken some shots at the parents. I'm like, how come she was not? How come they didn't report that she was home, right? So I've not been like, but they were like, thank you for keeping the story out there when it needed to be out there. And that's what he said. And then I said, listen, I can't imagine what they're going through. And he told me that they were going to be there, that they were arriving, and that it was going to be very hard. I actually said, it's going to be so hard for them. I said, I almost wish they weren't here. It's going to be so hard for them to hear what goes on.
Hard,
And he said,
he's
he
emotional.
understood that.
His
And
voice
then
is cracking.
I gave him my card, so
so they could
we
talk.
wanted to exchange info, and
they're allowed to talk.
And I said, that this is. I said, I said, we did our thing, and I said, I'm here, not as an investigator. I'm here as someone that wants to see justice for Celeste. I said, our job is done. As far as I see it, there's no reason for me to be doing a ton of interviews, or there's no other information. Now I just want to see. I want to see him suffer. I want to see David suffer. I really do. And I want to see him uncomfortable. And I want
SF Investigates ain't hiding the ball. He said, I want to see David suffer. I want to see it. I want to see it with my eyes. I want to see David suffer.
See him. I want to see it when it finally clicks in his tiny little brain that he's never going to see freedom again. And I want to see what that looks like on his face, And so that's why I was there. But it was very nice of him to come up. I wouldn't have expected that he did that. I didn't
Ooh. So we have two different alternative theories. Look, MJ Lee said that's their ego because SF Investigates got more evidence than they did. But then Catseer said, actually, I believe they were mad because they left that evidence behind on purpose. They didn't want that evidence to be brought to the light of day. They left it behind on purpose. And SF Investigates brought it to the light of day. That's what they're pissed about.
Either I didn't know
be
who
either
it was.
one.
And
he was able to identify you. That is amazing, Steve.
Yeah.
Like he was able to, and I think
identified.
you have been, I mean, there's been a lot of people, but you've been critical of the parents. I think very vocal about it. I remember very early on, we were talking about, well, are they undocumented? Are they documented? What's going on? And then we found out that they are documented. So what is the issue, right? Like, yeah, you know, I really think that you take a lot of heat.
You did say to me right up, like, I just want you to know that they're extremely private people that don't understand the limelight, not why this is happening. They totally understand that, but listen, it's not comfortable getting in front of camera. Like, you know, people are very like, and especially when they're gonna throw a million questions at you, and you don't really know all the answers, right? And not only that, but you know, so here's the thing, and this is something that I've believed since I appeared in front of the grand jury and experienced Beth. I think that probably would not everybody. So if I get threatened in a situation, right, like that, I make sure I learn my rights and I understand really what the laws are. And I knew that, you know, like, first of all, I didn't even disclose that I was the grand jury. But when I originally got subpoenaed the first time, 2 DA detectives showed up at my door at 6:15 in the morning.
When he originally got subpoenaed the first time, 2 detectives showed up in person to his door at 6:15 in the morning. I'm going to guarantee you right now, if cops show up to my door at 6:15 in the morning, my house better be on fire. Somebody's life better be in danger. That is insane.
It was very intimidating. And they were like, you need to be, I'm like, well, listen, I'm going to Tennessee for the Sebastian Rogers case. I was going to search.
I have a job and things to do.
And they're like, we don't care. Like, here's Beth Silverman's number.
You're not going to be working. You got to do what Queen Beth says. Queen Cornberry says.
So I talked to her, and at first she was actually really friendly to me, but she said, you can never, ever do another interview from this moment on, or you'll be breaking the law.
Or what?
So I came out with a tweet saying, hey, for legal reasons, I'm going to go silent on the case.
He did. I remember I reported on that.
Then I learned my rights. I talked to a couple of attorneys, and I was like, that's a lie. And
that's
why I think that people like Asia and Neo and stuff are silent. I do think that maybe Neo would be silent anyways, but I think that they believe that they'd be breaking the law if they talk.
Yeah, if what SF investigates is saying is true, which I completely believe, he was threatened falsely by the prosecutor, saying if you say anything else at all, period, about this case, you're going to be committing a crime. If she threatened SF investigates like that, what are the chances she threatened other people like that? I think it's a very high probability she threatened Asia and what's his name? Asia and Neo. I think it's a very high likelihood.
When they wouldn't be. And it's because you have these gag orders, and then you have these secret gag orders essentially going on by, you know, DAs telling you you're legally not allowed to, and that's not true. So there's a lot more to this case but that's just like the background noise, you know, it's not the case itself. And
right,
so
that's true.
That's got to be.
This is like a side plot story. It has nothing to do with the actual case, other than the fact that maybe the prosecutor is trying to hide some stuff. Which, if you have a strong case, you shouldn't be trying to hide stuff from the public. And if you don't have a strong case, go back to the drawing board and prosecute who actually did it. If it ain't David, figure it out.
It's a critical point right now because this is happening.
They didn't want him to speak on what he found.
Justice is happening, right? It's not just motions and things getting continued. It's actually happening.
Right. And, it's finally the actual hearing.
So for that.
I'm kind of glad you didn't get not, you know, I know that you went on there, the intent to get in, but you didn't get into the first round, right? You didn't get to see the pictures or anything like that. I'm kind of glad you didn't, because people are just what they're describing, like Flojo here. I've had, you know, Pinche Beck, I've had people like this. Everybody's describing just the horrific nature
maggotry
of her body.
I'm sure it's awful. You know, like being in search and rescue, I unfortunately deal with deceased.
Okay, so shout out to Rabbit. I am going to link this live stream video so y'all can go and watch the rest of that. I do have some other links and other things that I want to get to other than the story what happened to SF Investigates. Justice for him. If he actually was cussed out or pushed or whatever, I hope that he presses charges and looks for some criminal charges against that freak. Okay, so we looked at the Trap Lore Ross video. Brian Enton was also there tweeting boots on the ground. He said, I'm at the David preliminary hearing. This is from about 9 hours ago. 8 hours ago. I'm at the David preliminary hearing in Los Angeles. He's accused of dismembering and killing 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Lots of new evidence expected, no cameras, and I can't live tweet, but I will update on breaks. Let's see if he did do that. It appears that he did. Okay, so that was 8 hours ago. So we have the first update from him 6 hours ago. Gruesome details emerging in the David preliminary hearing. Court was just on a break. Here's some of what happened in the morning. We'll do a more comprehensive video later. So this one's about a minute and a half.
Hey guys, I'm outside the courthouse in Los Angeles. Now in the David hearing, we knew that it was going to be gruesome. There were a lot of details we hadn't heard about yet, and it is. They've been showing pictures from after they found Celeste Rivas Hernandez's body when it was taken out of the trunk, allegedly of David's trunk. Her family is in the courtroom, so you can imagine. I mean, they've been emotional looking at these pictures. Some of these details are hard to talk about, but they talked about 2 severed arms, 2 legs, a severed kneecap, all in the front.
A severed kneecap. Oh.
Trunk of the Tesla. Just looking back at the notes here, they noticed in the right hand a tattoo that said "shh," and on the left and pinky finger was removed, that it was cut off, they said. Found in a black trash bag. Left hand was found in a black trash bag with 2 fingers severed, and they could not see a face, they said.
She was unrecognizable.
When she was removed from the trunk, could you see a face? And the detective said no, there was quite a bit of decomposition and skin slippage, so it was unrecognizable. So it's difficult to listen to all this stuff, and again, the family's in there, so
her family, her parents.
We're not allowed to report the details of what's happening until there's a break, and there was just a break. So I'll keep you guys posted.
Okay.
David hearing,
So then he goes 5 hours ago, another update from David hearing. Preliminary hearing discussion about David buying airline tickets for him and Celeste to London and Texas. More details on the Tesla where Celeste's remains were found. Dismembered. Court on break now for lunch. This is 5 hours ago. Hello.
Hey guys, so I'm outside the David hearing. There's
what the hell?
Now for lunch. There's now for lunch. Going to give you guys an update on what happened. There's no cameras or anything allowed inside, so I wanted to give you guys the notes.
Okay.
So basically, they talked about the Tesla. Of course, the Tesla that prosecutors say. Celeste Rivas Hernandez, her body was found in the front trunk. They talked about specifics about how it was left on a street in the Hollywood Hills, later ticketed and impounded and towed on September 5th, 2025. The detective was able to get a download of all the data connected to an iPhone 16, which David had named Tranquilizer, they say. That was the name of his iPhone Tranquilizer. But they were never able to find the phone. They did find navigation searches to Santa Barbara and San Ynez Valley. But
okay, so not only did they find Tesla data from the charging stations, showing that he was routing to or from his house to Santa Barbara, but also apparently they found navigation searches. So he went into the Maps app or whatever and searched to Santa Barbara.
They don't know, they haven't said why, but they said they were significant for some reason. The detective says they were called to the impound lot on September 8th, testified that there were media helicopters. Celeste's father called LAPD and said that he believed the body discovered in the Tesla belonged to his daughter. The prosecutor asked that given the condition of the body, the detective asked the father for Celeste's dental records. Celeste's mother started to cry. I mean, you can imagine how hard it is for her parents being in the courtroom for this.
Well, I can't. But
they talked about dental records. They executed a search warrant at David's house, collected more devices, including an iPhone 15, which they belonged, that they say belonged to David, and a tower computer. They say that they found that he purchased tickets on United Airlines for both him and Celeste to Texas and London, England. There was no date established for the trial. But this is significant because this connects David to Celeste. They say he bought tickets for them to go to London and United Airlines. Remember, she's just a teenager. And they also found an unopened Amazon box purchased under an alias Victoria Mendez, which they say they later determined to be David. And the box was what the detective called a burn box, a mini crematorium used to burn items to nothing.
A mini crematorium.
Photo. So it's been very graphic so far. So they're on lunch now. I'll keep you guys posted what happens this afternoon.
Okay. Let's move on.
Guys, I wanted
okay, so 3 hours ago, so that was 5 hours ago after lunch. And then 3 hours ago, I'm assuming, right after the lunch break, he said, I saw Celeste's parents standing in the hallway waiting to go back into the hearing. They were alone.
Hey guys,
and just standing there together, and you could feel the pain resonating.
Give you another
from
update from what's been.
This one is from 2 hours ago. More here from inside the David preliminary hearing. They have his detailed Amazon purchases and aliases used. The kiddie pool and chainsaws also used Postmates for a shovel and a mop. A mop? I think that's another new information that he ordered a mop. David had a Celeste tattoo on his finger. Questions about money also came up. Okay, so this is a 2-minute, 13-second clip. Let's see what Brian Enton said from outside the actual courthouse 2 hours ago.
Hey guys, I wanted to give you another update from what's been going
I don't know why it's like doing this.
David preliminary hearing. He's of course accused of killing Celeste Rivas Hernandez. It's just kind of like unbearably sad in there. All of the details, the photos are horrific. When I was waiting to go back inside, Celeste's mom and dad were in the hallway just kind of standing there alone together. You could kind of just feel the sadness coming off them. They were just standing by the bathroom and just kind of hit me like everything they must be going through.
Yeah, it's surreal.
But there was a detective on the stand just now, talked about all the purchases that David made allegedly from Amazon, a burn cage, 2 body bags, which I didn't even know you could buy body bags on Amazon. He was using an alias Travion Davis, they say, an inflatable pool, which we knew about, chainsaws that he bought. They went over like in detail all the different kinds of chainsaws, the blue inflatable pool, a shovel. These items were bought off Uber Postmates, a shovel, a Lowe's mop and bucket, a fireproof mat was purchased, which the detective said they were never able to find, the fireproof mat. And just now, they talked about, again, her being cut apart, essentially. I hate to even say that, dismembered, that there were 2 different bags that they found her in, one with the head and bones, second bag with limbs. They were in the Tesla in the front trunk. Right now, though, there's people associated with David's business who have been on the stand, which is interesting, talking a lot about the finances, how he had got about $3 million in a publishing account, $1 million in a merchandising company, a lot of money involved. And they're trying to figure out communication that these financial people were having with his family members after the police investigation began, which is kind of interesting, which I'm going to dig into later. But that's the latest. Again, it's just a terrible case. There's no cameras allowed. There's no live transmitting allowed, no live tweeting. So this is really the only way
very
to
antiquated,
relay information to you guys. But I'll keep you guys posted, and I'll do like a big deep dive video later.
Okay, shout out to you. Okay, and then he said that. All right, so let's just travel back and I want to go and search Kadisha Lynn. I want to re-look at SLOAN again and see if he's posted anything else. No, those are the most recent. Okay, let's go to Kadisha Lynn because she was really compiling a lot of that information. Let's see if she's updated anything here. David's money was being moved around. David's case moves forward. We saw that. Okay. So she did post something else. 44 minutes ago, David had Celeste's name tattooed, and we got a missing chainsaw.
Had a tattoo.
A missing chainsaw.
of Celeste's name on his finger in red ink, kind of like hers, and they found this out when he was being booked into jail. Yeah, you heard that right. That's crazy because I'm pretty sure Celeste had a tattoo of David's name on her finger in red ink, and then that finger went missing. They also confirmed that David had the matching tattoo that Celeste had on her finger that was still there. Now we're hearing about all of those purchases, and they are claiming they weren't bought under one alias. There was actually two aliases. The investigator testified that David ordered the shovel on Postmates on April 24th of 2025, one day after Celeste allegedly passed away. Then on May 1st of 2025 is when two chainsaws were bought under the fake alias that we heard earlier, Trayvon Davis. Investigator testified that both of those chainsaws were recovered from his home when they raided it in September of 2025. On May 3rd of 2025, they said that he ordered the inflatable pool under the fake alias Trayvon Davis. The next day, on May 4th of 2025, they are testifying that he ordered a chainsaw, a Makita, actually pictured here, and also a
Okay, there's the chainsaw, the Makita.
and a bucket under Trayvon Davis.
And a bucket. And a bucket. That's more new information. A mop and a bucket.
Say he ordered the body bags and the trash bags under the fake name Trayvon Davis. July 7th of 2025, the burn cage was ordered under the alias that we all heard before, Victoria Mendez. And almost a week later, on July 12th of 2025, there is a fireproof mat being ordered under Trayvon Davis. Now, David's defense attorney ended up cross-examining this witness, and it didn't really go so well. David's attorney, Blair Burke, started zeroing in on how the defense handled a lot of the evidence. Steve Burke started zeroing in on the black cadaver bag and asked why the whole bag wasn't stored as evidence.
Right. That was what SLOAN had said too. Like, they're trying to poke holes in why they didn't get DNA from the whole bag. But SLOAN made a great point. It's like, what are they supposed to just keep the whole decomposing bag and the maggots? Like, what are they supposed to really do with that? Like, they cut off the straps where the most likely, and the zipper where the most likely contact would have been.
Answered her question saying that his supervisor and criminalist decided that because of all of the fluids in the bag from decomp, it would be impossible to even try to preserve the whole bag.
How would you
went on to
preserve it?
testify
Yeah.
that instead of keeping all of it, they kept certain parts like the handles and the zipper.
That
And they
makes
did this so they could forensic test this, but they admitted that they didn't keep the whole bag and they never forensic tested it. So they didn't swab it or anything before they basically got rid of it. Then David's attorney moves on to the burn cage. The investigator testified that when he found this burn cage, it was unopened and it was on the second floor next to the piano. He admitted this burn cage was never tested for evidence or never collected as evidence, and this is something we knew because the private investigator Steve Fisher.
They never tested the burn cage for evidence. And Steve Fisher, ooh, okay, so now we're getting a little more insight here and a little more context. Steve Fisher found this burn cage. Steve Fisher announced the burn cage to the public, but apparently the prosecutor didn't give a shit about this burn cage, or the cops or whoever was there to collect evidence. They never tested it for evidence because they didn't find it to be important. Oh, that's why Beth is mad at Steve, because now they're using that burn cage. David's lawyers apparently appear to be using the burn cage against the prosecutors. Like, why y'all didn't check that for DNA?
They admitted that they didn't keep the whole bag and they never forensic tested it. So they didn't swab it or anything before they basically got rid of it. Then David's attorney moves on to the burn cage. The investigator testified that when he found this burn cage, it was unopened and it was on the second floor next to the piano. He admitted this burn cage was never tested for evidence or never collected as evidence. And this is something we knew because the private investigator Steve Fisher, who released the photos of the burn cage. David's attorney start questioning this investigator about all three of the chainsaws. This one chainsaw in particular is the one that has never been recovered, and it makes a lot of sense because it's actually an electric chainsaw, which
this chainsaw was never recovered. Does Steve Fisher have it for safekeeping? Like, did they ask him for it?
Tend to be a lot more quiet than a normal chainsaw, but we heard about this Makita chainsaw when the private investigator Steve Fisher came out and said that he found this chainsaw right here. This is David's house in David's home. It had never been used, but the police didn't take it, and he found this box to the Makita, but he said it had no chainsaw in it. He felt from the very beginning that this was probably the chainsaw that David used because this is a regular one, this one was electric, and that one was never recovered. It does make you wonder what in the world happened to this chainsaw.
Where's that chainsaw? Ooh, the missing chainsaw mystery. We got a missing chainsaw.
Right here. This is not the only thing that we have learned today that is missing. We also learned that David's phone that was connected to the Tesla on the last day that he drove it is also missing. I said from the beginning of this, I feel like the actual unaliving weapon is missing too. I don't think they recovered it, but I guess we're going to find out in this preliminary hearing. In the same way that Celeste's passport ID was found by the Caltrains worker in Santa Barbara County. Which they're saying David's phone and Tesla records show him going to 3 different times. So I wonder, where's this chainsaw? David's attorney then started questioning this investigator saying, did you test these chainsaws for DNA? Did you compare compare the marks to the cuts that you were talking about. The investigator said he did not recall any DNA testing and he doesn't remember any forensic testing being done. Layer Burke then starts questioning a light blue iPhone 15 that was found in David's home during the searches. And that's because this investigator testified that this belonged to David because they found pictures and things.
But okay, so there's a discrepancy about the light blue iPhone 15. Whose phone was it? Was it Celeste's or David's? There's disagreement between the two parties.
Like that in this phone. He pointed to this search warrant affidavit that included a Gmail that's linked to Celeste and started questioning this investigator if they ever thought this phone was Celeste, not David's. And this investigator did respond saying that they do know the email linked to the iCloud is Celeste, but they believe that this phone is David's, not Celeste. Basically saying the email didn't have anything to do with it. The phone's owner was David. And the reason why they're doing this is because the contents of that phone, I mean, at least that's what I'm thinking. That's the only thing that really makes sense to me. And let me tell you, they got into a heated back and forth over this phone matter with objections flying and everything. More information that comes out, the crazier this gets, but I do have a lot of questions about why investigators were not testing things. It's very discouraging to hear, even though I do think that there is a lot of evidence in this case, but this is something that David and his team can try to argue. And with a case like this, you can guarantee that's exactly what they're going to try to do. But y'all let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments.
I'll let you know what I think about it right now, just off top, of my head. I think that more people than David were involved. I think people helped him to cover it up. I think possibly even people helped him to kill her. It's not just a thought. Everybody's innocent until proven guilty. And I think the people who helped to cover this up are higher on the totem pole in Hollywood and in the industry than David. And they're trying to make David be the only one to take the fall, which I do think David had something to do with this whole thing. But I think that Beth Silverman has powerful friends. She's powerful herself. And she's just trying to make this a clean little, put a red ribbon bow, a red string, if you will, around David only. Everything's David, 100% David. However, that is going to, if that's the case, that's going to fly right back in their face, because in the same breath, they're also arguing today, as we heard from earlier reporting, they're arguing that David is just defenseless, clueless. He needs help, basically wiping his ass. He needs help signing a lease. He needs help to do anything. He's just this innocent, clueless, idiot, which he might be, actually. He might not really truly know how to sign a $20 million lease. He might truly not know how to do some of this stuff for his own self. It might be true. But if that's the case, then that just leans even farther and harder into the direction of who helped him do this. That's my opinion. That's what I think so far. Tina Marie 5D agrees. Okay, who else? Nancy Dillon was also there, live tweeting. Good morning from day one of the David preliminary hearing, she said. He's accused of murdering 14-year-old Celeste Rivas. Prosecutors say he chopped up with chainsaw and hid remains in Tesla. 5 hours ago, the photographs of Celeste's remains were graphic and heartbreaking. Before showing the right index finger marked with the shh tattoo, Deputy District Attorney Beth Silverman turned to Celeste's parents and motioned for them to look away. It was the only photograph in which Celeste was recognizable, the shh tattoo. Detective Josh Byers testifying about why LAPD believed David was last to drive the Tesla. Okay, why? Specifically, why did the detectives believe David was the last one specifically to drive the Tesla? He testified about the evidence that prosecutors say shows David was the last person to drive the Tesla before it was towed. He said data from the car, okay, so that's one, showed David's iPhone 16, which was never recovered, disconnecting from the vehicle from 2:18 p.m. on July 29th. This was shortly after neighborhood surveillance video captured the black Tesla leaving David's rental home at 1368 Vireo Place. 2 minutes later, a neighbor's security camera recorded David walking back toward the house. And screenshots from that video were shown in the courtroom today. Now, the detective did say that license plate readers attached to LAPD vehicles repeatedly recorded that Tesla in the same location between July 29th and September 8th. This suggests that it remained there after David allegedly parked it and left on tour. He said David's dad, Celeste Rivas, I saw the V and said David. He said Celeste's dad called LAPD on September 10th to say he was concerned the unidentified female found in the trunk was his daughter. Nancy Dillon, 36 minutes ago, said 2 more takeaways from Detective Byers' testimony. He confirmed David had Celeste tattooed on his left ring finger, the marriage finger, by the way. The finger where you put your wedding ring in American culture, that's where Celeste's name was tattooed. Wow. So every day he's still looking at that tattoo. Jesus. We saw the photo. It was in red and cursive. David allegedly bought a third chainsaw through Postmates 3 days after buying the first 2 on Amazon, and the third chainsaw was never recovered. Stop. Let's see. I did not know that David had a Celeste tattoo on his finger. I may have heard that rumored before. Okay, let's go back to the Reddit and see what they have been updating throughout the day. A lot of the best info came straight from Reddit throughout this whole case. Okay, let's go back a little. Okay. 6 hours ago, now we know why he doubled down on posting Hello Kitty merch at 804 North Doheny on socials. Okay, so here he is with the Hello Kitty stuff. Deputies searched his apartment or his home in 2024. With his consent, they were looking for Celeste. The detective testified today that he noticed some Hello Kitty items, but David explained that it was an artist house where other people frequently stayed. Then he started rubbing it in their faces. What is this? If you even care? I don't know what YEC is. D4 Hub and their involvement with David. I don't see anyone asking. David's Discord mods were apparently talking today in the chats. He booked a flight for Celeste. Deputies asked if Celeste was at his address, and immediately, without any prompting, David said, "I thought she was 18. Deputies saw in one bedroom, it was full of Hello Kitty toys and plushies. Oof. There's David. Wondering if they were able to recover David's iPhone 5. So there's like an older iPhone. All the new songs made on iPhone 5. How about that? Hashtag wow. Flojo TV. Shout out to Flojo TV. He thinks David rehearsed his answers ahead of time when the deputies arrived. He confirms it was not an investigation. It was merely a welfare check.
The deputies doing a little walk through the house. There was another female deputy there, and they were pretty much conversing with David, asking him what they did, what he did
So there's a male deputy and a female deputy there at the 2024 welfare
for a
check.
living. He explained that he was an artist. He made music that was indie/alternative. And in that footage, you can just see the deputy just kind of rummaging through the house. As soon as they walked inside the home, they made contact with him. They asked him questions. And what I found very odd and about the whole encounter when the made contact with David was that David had an answer
David had an answer for everything.
Like he knew what they were coming for.
He knew they were
felt
coming.
like he had rehearsed all of this stuff ahead of time.
Interesting.
They asked him the last time that he saw her, and he had an answer. They asked him the last place that they saw
He knew the exact date. He knew all the answers already.
her. He had mentioned that it was someplace in Venice. The last time that he spoke to her was on November 12th, and the only time that they met was there was an address they gave us on Laguna Avenue. He proceeded to tell him that he met them 2 to 3 years ago and that they had been talking on and off. And then in that body cam footage, the deputy had to stop David and tell him, like, hey, we're not investigating you. We're just really here to...
The deputy confirmed to David, hey, you're not under investigation. We're just looking for this missing girl because maybe David was acting sus.
See if she's here. And the reason why they didn't really question him was because what the deputy told us was that they don't have a case on him. They're just performing this wellness check on behalf of Riverside County. And so, they were just there to really check to see if he was there. He went through each of the rooms. He rummaged through, the closets, the bathrooms. He opened drawers. David was telling him that this house has a lot of different artists who stay there. And they said that David had shown the deputies a missing persons poster. So David was the...
So there's many people reporting David is the one who showed the missing person thing to the deputies.
Aware of this missing persons poster at the time that they did the inspection. Go there, what's up, how's it going, everybody? Then they did a cross-exam, and then they did a redirect. And
okay.
So he was the detective who's called to the tow yard.
Okay, we watched that. We talked about that. We talked about Benjamin Gregor. We saw the pictures. We talked about Brian. Sorry, I'm going on 8 hours today. David's gross earnings. We talked about that. Full timeline of the hide a body kit, preliminary hearing, 2 aliases. We watched that. Steve is live. We watched that. We read that. We talked about that.
Do you think this could be real executions?
We saw that. We saw that. I'm just making sure we saw everything. Let me do a refresh here. Okay, so we're caught up on Reddit. I'm hearing Celeste's family attorney made some type of speech or something. So let me look that up. How would I find that? Celeste Rivas. Let's see if TMZ maybe. Okay. So we have a few. Okay, my mom said he did not give a speech today. That's a lie. That's not true. Okay, so people are just lying. All right, got it. Okay, cops found Celeste tattoo. Her name was tattooed on his left ring finger. Let me see. Let's go and see if they have any exclusives here. 7 hours ago. Breaking news. Celeste's family stares down at the gruesome evidence. They don't want to look at it for obvious reasons. Death penalty still on the table. Okay, look, here it is. Celeste Rivas family lawyer. Exclusive. So this came out like less than 10 minutes ago. Celeste Rivas family lawyer details. Okay, so my mom was wrong. He definitely gave, maybe not a speech, but he gave us a statement. They aggressively cross-examined. No. So they did give a statement, and here it is right here. Exclusive from TMZ. Celeste Rivas family lawyer details dead body as mush. Oh, my God. Oof. Okay. Celeste Rivas Hernandez body had liquefied and looked like mush in the graphic photos shown during the preliminary hearing today, according to the 14-year-old's family attorney. We caught up with Patrick Steinfeld outside court after the hearing, and he tells TMZ the alleged evidence presented against the singer is damning based on what he saw inside the courtroom. He says the exhibits were so extremely painful for the family to sit through that Celeste's mother sobbed throughout the hearing, and she has never recovered since. So she's just having a day, which I can completely understand why. He says one image shown in court was so graphic that Beth Silverman asked the detective what she was looking at or what they were looking at, and the detective responded by saying it was Celeste's head. But they didn't even know what it was. What are we looking at? I think that's her head. According to the family lawyer, the condition of the remains was so severe, you wouldn't be able to identify it as a person or a body. Oh my God. He said David deserves life in prison without the possibility of parole. As we previously reported, prosecutors allege David left Celeste's dismembered body inside the Tesla registered to him after they claim he lured her to his Hollywood Hills rental home in order to kill her. And this was after she allegedly threatened to expose their relationship. So let's see if we can get that video. Wait for this is supposedly the video right here.
I know you talk, Sir, sorry, I wanted to get a clean one real quick. Can you tell us a little bit about everything that happened in there today?
Well, I will say the man looks a bit demon possessed.
Sir, sorry, I wanted to get a clean one real quick. Can you tell us a little bit about everything that happened in there today?
Well, it was the preliminary of the preliminary hearing. The evidence that the district attorney brought in was
This is the one Beth Silverman said, "You're not allowed to talk to him," about Steve Fisher. This man walked up to Steve Fisher and was like, "Hey, thank you for advocating. Thank you for keeping the story going." Whatever. Here comes Beth Silverman, the prosecutor, who's supposed to be worrying about getting David put in prison. You can't talk to him. Don't talk to him. You're not allowed.
Absolutely damning for David, and the pain that the family's going through is just unbelievable now. They're still grieving, and they're trying to maintain their privacy, but they were in court today because they wanted to show their support for the family as well as the district attorney's office and the LAPD investigators who've done a phenomenal job. But it was extremely painful for them to sit through and hear the testimony today regarding the condition of Celeste's body. And then when they saw the images, Mercedes just broke down and started crying, and she really never recovered for the rest of the day. And so it's every person's worst nightmare, but it's just it seems to just get harder and harder for them.
I know you said a little bit about the evidence that was shown in there. For people that haven't looked, how gruesome is it?
Well, it's very gruesome. Her body was liquefied, and the district attorney's office had the police officer identify parts of her body that it just looked like mush. And Beth Silverman asked on one image what this was, and another image asked what it was, and the detective said, "Well, that's her head." And there's no way you would have guessed that you could identify it as a head. So it was horrible. It did not look like a person or a body at all. So,
Patrick, what is justice for your family? What constitutes justice in a case like this?
Well, that's a good question. And I think it's definitely life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. As you know, California has a moratorium on a death penalty right now. And so even though it's death penalty eligible, whether or not it will result in a death penalty remains to be seen. But I think
that indicated this morning, the district attorneys, that they haven't made a decision yet as to whether or not they're going to pursue the death penalty, even though executions have been called to here in California. But I'm curious, how do your clients, how do the victims' parents feel about the death penalty?
But we have not discussed the death penalty.
Have not.
No.
Can you tell us a little bit about, I know David's music is still up. You were kind of physically upset about his music.
Whoever said this man is giving Kenneth Copeland, I agree.
His mom possibly hiring, said, a lawyer for that?
Yeah, they're still pursuing his career. They're hiring a new entertainment lawyer for the specific reason of continuing his musical career. And how you do that behind bars.
I mean, they definitely got people in prison and in jail that are making prison house music, and they release it and they make a lot of money.
I don't know, but there's been millions of dollars that have flowed through this company, these companies that
So he's still
David
active as a
owns.
musician?
I don't know if he is right now, but apparently he's planning
So he's still active as a musician? No, bitch. He's in prison. He's in jail right now.
on pursuing his career in music. And he's got merchandising and, you know, his music, and he's got publishing. And when you hear how much money this young man made, it's unbelievable. And so
this man, I don't have anything nice to say, but, you know, shout out to him, I guess, for at least trying to say thanks to SF.
Based upon the amount of money he made, I personally found it deplorable when he transferred 2 homes out of his name.
Yeah.
And the last witness on the stand, he was the one that advised the family to transfer the assets out of David's name.
So they were advised to transfer those assets out of David's name, probably to protect them from lawsuit, a civil suit by the family, if I had to imagine.
To protect it from a civil lawsuit. And that, to me, really hits home because that's like an unlawful.
Because that's how he would get paid. It hits home because it hits his wallet. Let's be fair.
Transfer of assets.
However, I do agree with him in general, but for him, it personally hits home because it hits the cha-ching, cha-ching bank account.
And his mother was purportedly involved in that. I mean,
Yes.
he comforted one sobbing mother today. What is your message, Patrick, to comfort you?
Well, I understand her desire to protect her son. But at some point, you have to stop babying the
killer,
the adult man.
Alleged.
And he needs to take accountability for his actions. And it seems to me right now all the family's doing is looking out for their best interests as well as the interests of David so they can continue making millions and millions of dollars like they have in the last few years. So you guys will be around tomorrow, so thank you for your time.
Okay, I missed the part where he said it was going to be worse tomorrow. I missed that part, but I was kind of in the chat and stuff too. All right, so I think that's about it for the case today. There may be some loose ends that I have not reported on. I will say it does appear as though all of the people who were there boots on the ground today have stated that they are going to be doing a more robust covering of this case in the coming hours, perhaps tomorrow. It is very, very exhausting to be in court all day, period, even no matter what it's about. And then especially something like this, I can imagine some of the people are not going to be rushing straight home to make a video. Armand Wiggins, I'm looking for his coverage for sure. I'm looking for SLOAN's coverage. Brian Enton usually does a pretty good job. I'll be checking into Trap more. Ross, hopefully, you know, he does good too. Yeah, shout out to all them. If I didn't mention Flo Joe, Mark the Shark, of course, I'm looking forward to all of those people's coverage. So yeah, this is, I think I'm going on close to 8 hours straight. I mean, 8 hours total today of live streaming, which I mean is not anything compared to what Rabbit did, which was like 10 and a half, something almost 11 hours straight. So shout out to her. Thank you to Jana for the 20 gems party hat. Thank you to Hair by Mary Beth for the 400 gems eagle. Thank you to Azelmed for the 6 gem makeup brush. There's a makeup brush that's 6 gems, apparently. Thank you to Bill's Blue for the 200 gems. Thank you to Sage for the 30 gems. Thank you to M Flo for the 10 gems floating heart. Wow. Thank you Midnight Kitchen Trips for the 500 gems. Thank you, Kirsty, for the 200. Thank you to Sweet Potatoes, Yum, for the 200 gems, and for being a member for 3 months. Thank you to MJ for the 10 gem gold coin. Thank you to Joe Carr for the 2 gems sparkles. And thank you to MJ Lee for the 30 gems flower. Now, apparently, Reckless Ben has posted a video. I will be covering that tomorrow. I'm also going to be doing these nightly recaps of the David preliminary hearing, at least for this week, We have another day. Oh, except maybe Thursday. We'll see. Thank you to Lizzie for the 30 gems, and thank you to Sad Girl for the 30 gems. I am going to leave off this live, and I am going to post the links to the creators that I covered today so that y'all can go follow them. Kadisha Lynn, Armand, Rabbit, SLOAN, the ones whose videos I played, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. In the meantime, facts ain't defamation, neither are opinions. Please don't contact anybody mentioned in this video, and please remember that everybody is innocent and should be presumed innocent until proven guilty. Love you, Mina K. Bye.